Being it is at 10 o'clock, we are going to call this meeting to order as soon as somebody hits the recording button. Oh, it is recording. All right, I didn't hear it. First up, we have Public Works Director Gordon Kelsey.
Morning.
Good morning.
We have a couple items on your consent agenda. First one is item number 8, reimbursable work agreement between the county and Klickitat County Fire District number 3. Item number 9 is a supplement to our architectural on-call consultant, and that's to extend their contract and the maximum amount payable. And this is to finish up work that we already have ongoing. So, let's see, grant funded sign as a guidepost. The contractor finished the punch list work, and so now we'll be heading toward closing that project out.
Roosevelt paver, we're still in the same where we were. Small Works guardrail contract, we're waiting for materials. Courtney Road, thanks to Jake, we have some aerial views. And also contractors working on Mass X. There's a portion that, if you remember looking at it, was just solid rock. That is solid rock. They're gonna have to drill and shoot that. We also have a resident that lives up there, property owner, that supposedly used to have a trail that went across a few other people's property. We didn't see it, we didn't pick it up on the topo, and he never mentioned it during the process. Now he's saying he'd like that trail put back in. It's across the cut. It's not a very good scenario. We never got it permitted through the Gorge Commission. Right now, we're telling him it's reasonably not.
How big of a cut?
It's across the big cut.
It's across the big cut?
Yeah.
Did you give him a rope ladder? I mean, what are you thinking?
Well, I don't know. It wouldn't have been across his property anyway, unless he rappelled down. Because if you looked, he's right above the cut we're getting ready to blast. So it would have been straight off. So when he had it before, he went side hill across his neighbor's property and then went to the road. Well, he says, this is an old wagon trail. I'd like to have it put back. Well, nobody told us anything about it.
And it doesn't show up on our topo.
Yeah, we never picked it up. So we're telling him.
And he doesn't have an easement across his neighbor's property,
No.
right?
No, we can't build something across somebody else's property.
And I would imagine if we were going to, we would have to get permission from the Gorge Commission because we're changing.
Yes.
Yep.
Not only that, we would have negotiated that in with his right of way because there's a cost to that.
Sure.
We wouldn't have just built him a trail for nothing.
Okay.
We would have said, okay. So to come back now and do it, we're just kind of giving you the heads up. Our answers being, well, we can't do that. Right.
Yeah, and so there will be some room beyond the top of cut to the edge of our property that somebody could, walk
Yeah.
on that piece of our property that the county owns and purchased.
Is it on the
So-
north side of the cut or the south side of the cut?
It's outside of up on top of the cut. He wanted us to cut it into the cut of like
Yeah.
a 4 or 6 foot bench,
Oh.
which it wasn't like that before.
No.
Yeah.
No.
What he was looking for is a view spot or something?
Oh, well, he wants a shorter access from his house to the trail system off of the end of Atwood.
Uh-huh.
Okay. That
So-
one then.
Yeah, so otherwise he has
He has
to
to
come
go around.
around, which is, I don't know, half mile more.
Give him a zip line.
Yeah, you have to rappel pretty much down most of it.
Yeah.
Now, it's pretty
Take
steep.
his ladder. It'll be fine.
Did that where you're gonna have to cut and blast, did our geotech show that that wasn't gonna need to be done and that was part of
Yes.
it?
Yeah.
It's okay. So we're not seeing more rock than we thought?
No.
Okay. We
No.
knew it was all rock, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
that we expected.
Just wanted to make sure. Any change orders yet?
No, I mean, they've asked, their pavers asked already for asphalt cost adjustment. We told them, yeah, but we're not gonna figure that out today because you're not paving today. But there is an adjustment, it's based on asphalt binder. When we bid the job, asphalt binder was about $316 a ton. It's $585 now a ton. So it'll be a considerable change order, but we're not paving, you know, it could drop down.
Back down by the.
And we'll know when that time comes.
And are we thinking now it'll be paving the end of this year or beginning of next?
I'm thinking beginning of next, but we'll see.
Well, hopefully
Yeah.
asphalt binder's a lot cheaper by then.
Exactly.
I mean,
We're hopeful,
oil's
yeah.
down. I mean,
Yeah.
it's going down.
Oh, yeah, we're not gonna set a price now. We'll do it when we pave.
Yeah.
But that is that
Yeah,
heads
because I'm
up.
assuming if it was the other way around and it was way cheaper, they're like, well, we're gonna give this money back.
Yeah.
Said no one ever.
Yeah, yeah, it said no whatever. So,
Okay, the striping contract has begun. They're doing the maintenance part of it and started in the central part, usually right around Goldendale. We start every year there. Road design, we're advertising, we will be advertising for the concrete contract for our path, Klickitat path. Parking lots are on advertisement. Still waiting for the bridge call. Rock Creek Bridge is scheduled for advertisement. And we are potholing on Harms for our grant application. And with that, we'll be bringing, next week, we'll have the letter for our grant application for the courthouse remodel. And finding out now, I could add the HVACs. My hope is that the only dollars that we'll be contributing that's outside of what we're planning on contributing for that project would be a temporary setup. The grant project won't pay for a temporary setup. Building for the courtroom when we move them. But everything else, we should be able to use the remodels that we're doing over there and the HVAC systems were over there for our match part of that grant application. I'll be bringing that letter forward next week.
Yeah, so one of the things that we did was if you go into the Superior Court, there's this 70s vintage piece that they constructed in the middle to cover up where the skylight was. And so we've always talked about that thing just doesn't fit. And, you know, part of the grant process is to make the courtroom look like it used to. Since it
is the
has-
skylight
it's-
still there?
No, the skylight's been covered up.
Okay, no, I mean up in the structure. No, so there's no
It's-
skylight anymore.
No, but when we started poking around, because we talked about removing that thing and making it look like it used to, when we cut into above that ceiling where that structure is, they drop down. All the old molding, this huge crown molding,
It's all
this
still there.
whole, yeah, it's a grid. It's all still there. I don't know why they left it. And so what we're thinking is, putting some kind of opaque glass panels
So it's-
in and lights above it, so it sort of looks like there used to be a skylight, yeah, yeah. So, and they like that kind of stuff, so I think that'll help us with
That'll
the
help
grant.
us score points
But
with the grant.
it's just incredible that they left all that molding up there,
I'm shocked.
yeah. Because it's a lot harder to do what they
Yeah.
did, leaving it in place, so,
Well, maybe they were planning for the future. Someday.
yeah, we'll get rid of
we
this
might
ugly
want
thing.
this back.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, it was a good plan on their part.
yeah.
They figured since they left us an oil tank, they might as well leave.
Yeah,
it.
they'll
Yeah.
leave us that.
This could help us. The oil tank, not so
Not
much.
so much.
Okay, so on maintenance side of things, our county crews are working on the radio tower site, the road culverts and the site itself. And they're also leveling up the floors of the stalls in horse barn A and B at the fairgrounds in preparation for the stall mats that the fair board is purchasing this year for those two barns. And they're also helping out the West End crews in their chip sealing. So, and then the West End crew is chip sealing, so.
On Canyon Road today?
Have they?
Are they, is that where they are today? They were, the
They're-
tankers were at the bottom on.
I think
Oh,
Must
so.
be, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's where they're headed. I'm not sure, but I know they're doing a portion of it. So.
Yeah, 'cause there was all the tanks were there this morning when I drove through there, so I thought, oh.
Might be a slow drive.
Yeah, I was out ahead, so I didn't care.
On the building, we finally got our blinds person to give us a date. They're coming tomorrow night to hopefully finish up with their punch list items and downstairs in the Mount Adams room, getting those blinds and the track squared away. And then I think they have some punch list items in here, but the company is no longer. They are finishing up their punch list work on their projects that they have going, but they're done. So.
This project put them out of business.
Or other projects, I don't know, yeah. It didn't go too smoothly here. This is the project where they purchased the wrong blinds for the whole building and installed them, and then they had to come back with the blackouts. So, yeah, that's a cost you don't want to incur. And then the HVAC people, they come next week to evaluate the remaining issues in our building. Radio side, I don't know if there's anything else.
Let's see, we've met with the consultant. We've hammered out just about everything. So it's just a matter of getting everything together. They still say the lead time is around 8 weeks or so to the tower, which I find surprising considering lead time on a generator is 70 weeks. But luckily we were able to find a generator stashed away in Hillsborough somewhere. So we're making purchase on that as opposed to just having our electrical contractor do it, which that's typically the way you do it. But he found the 70-week one. We don't want that.
Events, so this is kind of a busy month for us, and then fair next month. But we have Friends of the Fair barrel race on the 15th, 4-H youth camp next week, the 18th through the 20th. There's a wedding on the 23rd, and the rodeo Bible camp is the 26th through the 30th. So a lot of things happening, and then we'll turn the fairgrounds over to the fair board in August. And we already have started, and we'll continue to work up through fair. I think our challenge is we were hoping to have some temporaries, but that's really been a struggle to get people even applying for them. So I think we're interviewing one this week that said they were interested in Ben's old job and a temp position. So, and then really not really any qualified applicants for Ben's position. So we're literally limping along, trying to cover, our busy time of the year and maintain everything. So our level of service will be lower. So just keep that in mind when people call. We're struggling to keep things going.
Does that have anything to do with the color of the courthouse lawn? Not as green as it was in years past?
I think that and just getting the irrigation system up and running, and it was kind of combined with the other system, and so we're slaying the water out there now so we can bring it back.
I got those comments during the time capsule thing, but I kind of heard it from numerous people that the yard was browner than normal, and I'm like,
Yes.
that was probably the irrigation and
Yep. And then follow up on our 410 discussion from last week. We would like to, some of our people are on 410s. Our crews are obviously on 410s during the summer. It's part of the contract. And I'd like to change the rest of our office. So our office staff would be 410s to follow and support that group. So when they're on 410s in the late spring, summer, early fall, we would match that schedule. So our office would be closed on Friday. Doesn't mean not all of us would be here. I think we would still have our facilities group here. We still have our inspection and inspectors working, but the office itself would not be open. And we get very little, if any, foot traffic at the counter on Fridays. So it's a very slow day for us anyway. And then once to support the crew in the winter operations, we would change the schedule back when they change back in the fall to 8-hour days.
Oh, I'll wait.
My only concern would be that foot traffic as far as the public
Yeah.
would be. um,
If somebody walks to your counter and rings a bell, is somebody gonna be able to answer the bell? Is somebody in there to answer the bell? Nobody, so it's just sorry, our office.
The office will be closed. We'll put a sign on the door, yeah.
And nobody'd be there to answer phone calls.
No, we had just our answering system that would let them know, we would, I mean, in an emergency, people can get a hold of us.
Yeah.
We have call-out numbers and I probably won't change my schedule. I work the 9-hour days and I'm 4 hours on Friday. So someone will be there, but I can't. I'm far away from the front desk, so.
Right.
I personally am willing to try it and see if we get citizen pushback.
Yeah, I'd go, like, again, we're kind of talking about it, just, for practical purposes.
Sure.
Why we're doing it, but it would be a question. I was surprised way back when we, whenever it was, 2010, when we did the furloughs on Friday, a lot of departments, we really didn't get, people kind of understood it, and they sort of, once they knew, then, there was the grumbling in the beginning, when, if I'm used to coming on Friday to drop something off and there's nobody there, I'm not gonna be super happy about that. So that would be the other thing, is how would we, if we're okay with that, how would we make sure that folks knew that? Because those are the people that I'm concerned about, the ones that, I'm running my, permit approach up. I'm a building contractor and I'm doing that, and I drove all the way to Goldendale to drop this off because I waited too long and I need it right away. And actually, I already built it.
Yeah, there's that.
So I guess at that point, what's another couple days? So that we make sure people know that, so that they don't waste a trip up here, because then it defeats we're doing it, we're trying to be conscientious to employees so that it's one less travel day, but I don't want to inflict an extra travel day on the public.
Sure.
So.
And we can figure out some kind of a drop box like we have went through during COVID, where we were closed. We still had the
That's
drop
true.
box
Yeah, and-
for permits.
And ever since COVID, our traffic hasn't come back.
Yeah,
Because
people have kinda
everybody's
gotten
used to,
Yeah.
they submit their permit online, and we're still providing that service on Friday. Our inspector's working. I understand the construction season is very important to people, so he still will be out working, doing inspections.
Okay.
Meeting with them, because a lot of that stuff does take place on Fridays for people, so. But
I know Skamania County's doing 410s, and they're doing it with the whole staff, and Fridays, the whole thing's shut down. And they haven't had a whole lot of pushback from their constituents. I think it's a fair idea to try, especially since, you're trying to make the administrative staff follow what everybody else is doing, so that makes sense. I think you could probably make the case that it's better for the county that way, having the staff there when the workers are out there in case they need anything. So I'd be willing to.
Test run.
Okay.
When are you planning on instituting?
Probably not till August, 1st of August would be my guess.
So you have
Makes
plenty of time
sense.
to post a letter and let everybody know.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
We'll let developers know during the pre-subs.
Right.
We'll start letting them know.
Okay.
We have one more.
What's that?
One of our guys, this crew left to go work for the city.
Oh.
And we would
He's
like.
dead to us now. Yeah, Tilly wants to come back. Yeah, then it's like, all is
Then
forgiven.
he'll be dead to us. We would like to advertise for the position in-house. We actually have a flagger that has a CDL, and we have somebody else. So we have 2 people that actually work for us that would be eligible
And would be good candidates.
and would be good, very good candidates. They work with the crew. We know how they'll work.
Our flagger has a CDL.
Yes.
Yes.
Put your foot in the door somewhere.
All right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Finding drivers right now is real hard.
It
Didn't-
is, it
Didn't know
is.
they made more flagging,
No.
only if they're working for one of our
Yeah, they-
contractors.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
not us.
twice as much as the.
Twice as much.
As the truck driver.
That's it for us.
I know we didn't get a chance to meet up in White Salmon. Are you heading to the west side anytime soon?
I can, whenever I can look at my schedule and let you know.
Okay, yeah.
Have you talked to the Historical Society anymore because they're no longer answering my emails? So do we have an update or are we moving on in a different direction?
No, we're trying to do the same thing. I think, the person that had the business, is now, they're not over on Main Street. I think they're doing it out of their house.
Right.
So it's a little less convenient, but, yeah, we're still, Tracy's done some legwork and I just have to have a few minutes to, go see what they have available.
Well, the plan was they were going to give us a CD thumb drive and then we can go through those pictures.
Right.
So
Jeannie, I think, has that.
he does. I'm just waiting on permission from the Historical Society that we can use their photos. And
I'll follow up and have an answer for you next week.
because, yes, I would like to move forward with that. Or on to phase 2.
I think it's a good idea. I like those pictures. I think they'd be a good asset to the building.
Yeah, not clogging the halls, but like Commissioner Anderson thinks too, with the conference rooms, a painting of that mountain in that conference room, and people are willing and on board. It's just waiting on the Historical Society for their share of them.
Okay.
I've
Do
thought
we-
about that a little bit more. If I can sit in the conference room and see the mountain, do I need a painting of the mountain in the conference room? But it could be cloudy, so.
Could be cloudy.
Yeah.
Will we have was your plan to have like a little interpretive, or some kind of caption, so I know what I'm looking at if I'm.
Ideally, yeah.
I mean, because I like that when I go someplace, because it's, you're waiting, like you have an appointment and the whatever, and there's, some old pictures. It's nice if there's a little, what am I
Yeah,
looking at? It's
right.
like, wow, that's a neat old something. I
Right,
don't know
and
what
I-
that is.
I
but-
want to do that also for the mountains, because if somebody took a picture of a wildflower and then the mountain's on the backside, it'd be nice to know from what trailhead they took the
Right.
picture.
Yeah, a lot of the photos that they dropped off, they dropped a couple of photos that they had, and they all say what you're looking at and where it was taken,
Yeah.
which
I
is really
figured if
nice.
it's on the CD or on the thumb drive, and because Commissioner Anderson was talking about maybe posting all the pictures for the community to see and have the community rank the pictures to put them in here. I don't know if that's still your plan or idea. But once we decide what pictures, we can go back and get the history behind them for a little deal.
Okay.
But I definitely want involved in that and not standing on the sidelines.
You bet.
That's all I have.
I don't really have anything.
I don't know how you guys do it, but you've taken an hour and turned it into a half hour successfully.
They're not
Every
hard
time.
of breath when they get here. So they
That's true, you had to add back in the rest time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
One last thing, Gordy. Are we doing traffic counts right now in the county? Where all are we doing traffic counts at?
Half of our roads, we do half each year.
Half of them, okay. And does that do speed too, or just,
It
okay.
collects both.
it collects both?
Yeah.
And do we change it in the locate, do we do the same place on the road each
Same
year?
place every year.
So we don't because if you got one spot and then you say you go down the road a quarter mile, you could have a completely different speed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so we try and get it locations that are representative of normal traffic. And then if somebody calls in and, it says, hey, these people are speeding by my house, then we'll go set out a separate one.
Okay,
But keeping the counters in the same spot is really
Right, it helps with the numbers to see.
Long-term, it's
Yeah.
a good thing,
You can
yeah.
see what's going on, if there's
Yeah,
a
how
trend,
things are
something
changing,
changing.
yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
That piggybacks on a question I have for you, because they're on the corner of Harms and Horseshoe Bend. But they're literally, 300 feet from the stop sign or the corner there, so nobody's gonna be doing 60, because you gotta
No.
run into a T intersection. So it really can't be giving you a fairly adequate number of speed,
No,
because it's too close to the corner.
right.
And I don't know, maybe because I live there, I keep getting hammered. I don't know if you know the wreck coming down from the Bison Ranch. A week or so ago, life flight landed in my bowl field.
Oh,
I had to clear out the bowls to make room for life flight because woman came down the hill right at the bottom at the Shriner property and went off the road and rolled the car 3 times. And then one of my other neighbors almost got head-on collision on the blind hill where you guys brushed
yeah.
because it's so narrow in there. But yeah, they're all complaining of cars doing 60 miles an hour. And then I see the speed things clear down at the bottom and I'm like, God, everybody's doing 35 by the time you get there.
Right.
So, okay.
Yeah, we can set them wherever we need to. And we do that for everybody in the county that calls in and has a concern. So we can do that.
All right, thank you.
Okay, let me think more. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Next up, we have Sheriff Bob Songer with his elected officials update and staff.
Morning, Sheriff.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, I don't know why Lifelight didn't want to land in the bull field until I moved the bulls out.
Maybe they've been
How
seeing.
did you know that? I
all
mean, were they
these-
just circling around or?
Actually, fire chief drove through my property with his lights on. I'm like, well, then why did he stop? It's my fire chief.
Right.
So I got in the razor and tooled up the road and found him, and he was looking for a landing spot, but I haven't mowed it in my field yet because it will spray. So he didn't want to land in tall
Right.
stuff, so then I moved him out of the bull field. Normally I have a helipad mowed right there, so.
Morning.
Lieutenant, good morning.
To start off with, there were a total of 2,805 calls for service from January 1st of this year to July 11th of this year. In addition to the calls for service, deputies served a total of 347 civil papers during the same time period. KCSO has also processed a total of 135 public disclosure reports since January 1st of 2022. On June 11th and 12th, 2022, of course, was the Bickleton Picnic and Rodeo in Cleveland, which was a great time for everybody. They had a good turnout, and it went well. On June 18th and 19th, 2022, was the Glenwood Rodeo and Parade. There was a great turnout, and everybody had a great time. No law enforcement incidents at either one of those events. On July 8th and 9th, the city of Goldendale celebrated Goldendale's 150th anniversary time capsule. The time capsule is a collection of historical information and mementos that captures the life experience of a community and preserves it for the next generation, and will bury a time capsule to commemorate the past year as well as the last 50 years from the time when previously time capsule was entombed in 1972. Bear with me, I don't have my cheaters, so I'm kind of adjusting the paperwork.
Yeah, you're right.
If these were, I'll have to get those from you. There were also Native American exhibits on the courthouse lawn that included activities such as teepee setup, Native American songs and dancing, as well as artifacts displayed. Goldendale Community Days were held on Main Street of Goldendale, and it was a large success. Main Street was packed with people having a great time. I think, Dan, I think I seen you down there. You guys get a chance to go to the community days?
For a little bit.
Yeah, that was a big turnout,
It was.
I thought.
It was crowds.
You know what that's called? Freedom.
Yeah.
Absolutely. KCSO posse deputies provided security at the above event activities. There will be an upcoming Mudfest event in Glenwood on July 15th and 16th. This will be a great event for where people have four-wheel drive rigs and they want to go through the mud pit. Carmen? She's going to be attending that, so that's why I brought that up. On July 13th, we hired Jennifer Lynn Shoup to fill the KCSO Criminal Records Specialist position. This position opened up after Kaylee Toll left and took a job with the Klickitat County Clerk's Office. Her starting date is the 18th, I believe, isn't it?
18th, yeah, not 13th.
I'm in the process of establishing a sheriff's cadet program for the youth in Klickitat County. This will give our young people a chance to learn about community service and providing training for them in regards to law enforcement responsibilities. I think that'd be a good event. I've been wanting to do that for a while, and we're gonna kick it off and do it. Under Sheriff Neer will be giving an update to the board on his area of responsibility. Chief Jail Administrator, Commandant, will also be given an update in her area of responsibility. And Chief Civil Deputy Karen Leings will also be doing the same.
I noticed you wrote that the posse will be at the Mudfest. Was the posse at all those other events as well?
Yes.
Okay,
They don't all address that.
okay.
Thank you.
Don't ask me.
Don't leave them lay around.
Under Sheriff?
Yeah, so due to staffing levels, I've been working night shift on patrol, covering calls. We have one graduating from the academy on Thursday this week, and then he'll start his field training from there. We have two more. One's been working in the jail right now. And then Cody Melton, one of our reserves, we hired full-time. He's been on the road taking calls full-time. Those two will go to the academy starting, I believe, in August. We're still waiting for a confirmation on that. We have one that is in the final stages of their hiring process to be a lateral hire. So he has a psychological exam tomorrow. That is the last thing that we are waiting for him.
So when you have somebody who's been through the Reserve Academy, do they have to still go through the
Full
entire?
everything. Yep.
Oh,
So it's good experience for them because they know what they're getting into. When they go to the academy, it basically takes the 250-hour academy that they already attended and they go through a 720-hour academy. So you actually get somebody that is higher trained than if you just hired somebody off the street. So there's a huge benefit to that. Cody is very active and is a very good go-getter. He's been working on filling the jail, so he's been doing a great job at that. We did get the jail over 30 this weekend, so we had a good weekend. So it's been, it is good experience to have somebody that's been through the reserve program and then goes to the full-time academy. The one that we're just waiting for the psychological exam on, he's passed his background already. He's passed his polygraph. He has the full Washington Academy, so we can literally start him as soon as possible.
is he local though?
He is local, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, worked for the city for 4.5 years.
Adam Diamond.
Adam Diamond, most people know Adam, so. Real go-getter in the city, and then he's gonna, he will have a 4-week academy, or excuse me, 4-week field training program.
Okay.
So it cuts it way down because he knows all of the programs that we use. He just doesn't know our policies and doesn't necessarily know the geography of the county outside of the Goldendale area. So he knows quite a bit on the west end, but not so much, say, east.
How many of our deputies live on the west end now?
Let's see, 3, 4, 5, I believe 5 now, maybe 6. We have Tyrell, we have Cody, we have Fred Killian, Tony Warren, and we have Gavin Marple.
That's higher than it's been historically, isn't it?
That is as high as it's ever been, yes.
Yeah, that's great.
Many many years ago, long before all of us. When a deputy was hired, they had to live in the area that they worked. So if somebody was hired to work the east end of the county, they had to live in Dallas, or excuse me, in Bickleton or Alderdale or Roosevelt. If they were hired in the Goldendale area, they could live in Centerville, Goldendale, Maryhill, Wishram. And if they lived, or if they worked the west end, then they had to live, somewhere on the west end. We also had a resident deputy program. I think that was still going when Dave was, that was still going when you were
Yeah.
first come in.
First
so,
on, when it was just a baby.
Yeah,
a pup.
but and those deputies got an addition, like
That was a
there
long time ago.
yeah, there was a specific, they were hired to be the Bickleton deputy. So then they got an extra amount of, they got a, like
Oh, by
a
living
monthly
there?
stipend. They had to go to all the community.
They had to go to the community council meetings and
Oh,
we had one in we authorized one in Klickitat too. I don't know that we actually,
Yeah.
like, nobody ever took it.
Yeah, when I started, it was still like budgeted for and on the books and they went away.
Yeah.
So when our Bickleton guy retires.
He
it's
has
gonna be
retired.
somebody
He
here
is gone.
retired. Okay, it's official. Good.
He's
So
retired.
for now, it's gonna be somebody here driving over there to
Mhm.
do the loop. So.
Yeah, I think we've made 2 or 3 trips this week.
Yeah, and we are taking complaints from just about every community in our county on a weekly basis about traffic complaints, complaint about speeders and things of that nature. We're sending the information out to the deputies. Like I said, we are short-staffed to a point where like I said, I'm out there handling calls, working a regular shift, plus coming in on my days off to do the administrative stuff that I can do.
Well, in a big county like this, you call somebody because somebody's speeding by the time the cop gets there 10 minutes later
Yes.
or 20.
Or an
that
hour.
person's
Or an
there.
hour.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Of course,
no.
the other thing that factors into that, let's say you are setting up at a complaint area and a car goes by twice the speed limit. Yep. Got them on radar, lock them in, turn the overheads on. Guy looks in the mirror and stomps it.
Right.
We can follow them 1 mile. That's it. No pursuit.
Can't pursue.
And a lot of citizens don't realize. I called the deputies, they didn't do a damn thing about it.
you ran to the end of your chain and barked.
Yep,
Yep,
exactly. That's a perfect analogy of it,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
spot on.
Yep.
Yeah.
How do you,
Just don't, whatever it is.
I mean, so you jump out behind the car and you get a plate number and it, comes back as me. And then I outrun you for a mile. You can show up at my doorstep and I wasn't driving.
So
We
the
have
nice,
to, we have to
Yeah.
be able to prove you were actually.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. So all the
so, and
laws
we,
are doing is rewarding criminal behavior.
so
And
we
they
actually
know
had,
that.
we had something like that a couple weeks ago. Cody Melton finds the car going way too fast up on Snowden Road. Turns on the vehicle, catches up to it as it does I'm gonna drive around cars in the oncoming lane in the no passing zone, drive way too fast. And he notifies notifies dispatch of it. Supervisors say, we're not chasing, just
In
let
the
it go.
pursuit.
So Cody doesn't just end it there, right? He terminates the pursuit, but then he starts checking every road. Every day. He spends the whole morning and he finds the car. So he calls it, I found the vehicle, I got it. So boom, sergeant goes down there, helps him. They impound the vehicle, they drive it up to Goldendale. They did a search warrant on it, big surprise. One of our habitual people that flees from us all the time. Here's his, his pay stub from the accommodation, right, in the passenger seat. So we're able to build a case certain ways. We have to do a lot more work. Another example.
But can you actually prove he was driving that car in a court?
So that's where the combination of your video, when he's driving by him, you have to
gotta
back
face
up your
it.
video and you have to be able to, there's ways to pause it, kind of zoom in on that stuff. So you have to gather all that kind of evidence. You have to do a lot more police work. It takes a lot
Do it
more
with your
time.
hands tied like this,
Pretty much.
Well, and
opposed to like this.
I'll share another one. This is just a couple days later. Again, Cody Melton down in Dallasport,
Go
running
Cody.
radar. Cody's our go-getter. And here's the car driving reckless through Dallasport. So he turns, tries to catch up to it, flips lights and sirens on, but the thing's gone. The thing is way too far away. He comes around the corner down there south of the airport and he can literally see it. It's as far out as he can see. The vehicle's passing cars in the oncoming lanes. Cars are getting out of his way. So he comes up, the car had gone south on Dallas, or on 197 as soon as it, turned off from Dallas Park Road. Cody had killed his light, sirens, everything. Sees a bunch of smoke on the other side of the Dalles Bridge. Okay, car had gone head on into a car on the south side of the Dalles Park Bridge. So Cody goes racing over there to see if he can't help out. As he's getting there, the guy's jumping out of the car, running. He calls it out, gives the description, providing all the details. Then he turns around and goes back to render aid. Wasco County finds the guy, arrests the guy. Oregon State Police got there, took the collision. So right place, right time, or wrong place, right time, right place, wrong time, however you want to put it. That's what we're kind of left with, is trying to pick up the pieces. People are getting injured, people are getting hurt because of these, the changes in some of the pursuit laws. That's not helping us, that's actually hurting us.
A lot of the bad guys know that.
Yeah. So that's what the guys are doing. They're fighting it every day, and they're trying everything they can do to follow within these rules that are constantly changing and being pushed one way. And so.
I mean, plus now that you know that they can't, chase you, now
Well,
it
they
gives
know.
you every reason in the world to run.
Yes.
Versus,
Absolutely.
Seattle police, a couple weeks ago, had a suspect who had kidnapped somebody. Violent crimes, other things like that. They were in the probable cause section. They had probable cause to arrest this guy as violent crimes. It was allowed by law. They were in pursuit with this. They had supervisors monitoring this thing. The suspect who's running from him calls 911, says, they can't pursue me. You tell them to stop pursuing me. They're committing a crime, not me. And the dispatcher says, well, why don't you pull over and we'll have a supervisor come take a complaint from you. Didn't work. They ended up spiking it, and they ended up ripping him out of the car and taking him into custody, and it worked out. But that's how emboldened these criminals are, is they don't care. They're not gonna follow the law anyways. That's why they're criminals. So that's my part of it, sorry.
Thanks for the.
was that the whole update? Tell us how you really feel.
Yeah, no, I will.
I would have to turn this off.
Yeah.
Carmen,
Good morning.
good morning.
Real quick, I got a call this morning from Dakota Ingraham. He was gonna be the young man who was gonna do the internship through the Army. He got his discharge papers early, and he's no longer gonna be able to participate in the internship. I am gonna reach out to see if they have others that might be interested, but he is gonna move back to Goldendale, so when we do our next test in August, he'll test, potentially then just be a full-time employee, so it might work out after all. But I'm gonna reach out to Fort Lewis, because I understand Fort Lewis has the same kind of program, so might be something we can still utilize. So I wrote this in a really big hurry last night, so I apologize, there's multiple mistakes. I did try to make some changes. The Corrections Division has completed 297 bookings from January 1st through July 11th at noon, as of noon yesterday. Statistics show that Klickitat County Sheriff's Office arrested 172 individuals in that time frame. That number is up from 154 arrests in the same time frame for 2021. Goldendale Police Department has arrested 90 people from January 1st through July 11th. This is also an increase from Goldendale's arrest in 2021, where 82 people were arrested during that same time. Benj and White Salmon Police have arrested 11, and that number is actually down from 16 in 2021. WSP has had 23 arrests in 2022. That's a decrease of 3 in the same time period. The Department of Corrections has had 22 arrests for 2022 and 11 arrests in the same time period for 2021. And I think we're going to just see a steady increase in the number of arrests. There's a lot of warrants hanging out there, and we have a couple of go-getters, especially if we get Adam on board. We have a number of guys who really like to go get people. So I know Cody went to Trout Lake last week and got 2 that we've had warrants for. So it's been busy. We had 4 arrests the other day in one day in like a 3-hour time frame. So it's been very busy in the jail. So the number of DUIs is at 38 for this year. This is an increase of 11 from the previous year. These DUI numbers do not include all the DUIs not booked by WSP. They cite and release their DUIs 99% of the time, which is unfortunate.
I don't understand that. I'm assuming somebody else is available to drive the car away.
Yeah,
Or
I'm guessing that's
maybe-
how they do it. My argument too, I just did a class with some WSP, and my complaint to them was, if you're not booking them on this, even an administrative book and release, then we're not fingerprinting it and it's not getting on their rap sheet. So if you got a DUI today and you weren't booked on it, and 3 days from now you go and get a DUI in another county, when they run you, that's not going to be on your rap sheet because that's put on through the fingerprint system. So you might have a DUI pending, but it's not going to show when you would go to court in that next court.
Is WSP short-staffed, do you guys know?
Yes.
Yes.
That
Where's-
could be why they're doing it, because they don't.
No,
They've always done it
they've
that way.
always done it that way. They are trying to get it to where they're trying to make it so that the troopers start printing their own people. I don't know how well that's gonna go for them. I offered they could come into the jail, and they're using the dragger anyway in our print room, so they might as well just fingerprint them while they're there. At least it gets that information into a rap sheet and makes other agencies aware that those people have that on their rap sheet. I do have to thank my staff. They've done a tremendous job this last 6 months. Just in June alone, my staff logged in over 254 hours of overtime just because we're short-staffed. We're trying to cover vacations and leave and stuff, so it's a little overwhelming.
Can I back up just a quick
Sure.
second to DUIs?
Mhm.
Of the 38 DUIs, do you have any kind of a ballpark on what percentage of them actually reside in Klickitat County versus
No, I didn't do that. I
the
didn't.
idea guesstimates that you've seen in your history?
I'm gonna say that based on previous interactions with DUIs, either all are going to live or be visiting Klickitat County. Oh, and that could be where they're maybe camping here for a week or two.
Okay.
Of the DUIs that I arrested, I would say probably it's about half. About half are residents and half are, visitors that are here for more than just 1 or 2 nights. Something like that.
My report actually gives all the booking information, so I can pull that and get that number to you.
No, don't bother. I got a good rough.
It's already
number,
printed
that's
out,
okay.
so.
I think it's about 50%.
So we're not doing any training in July. We just don't have the time to get any training in. We are working on getting the defensive tactics training scheduled. We'll rotate through several shifts to get that done. Courts, still busy. We're still doing multiple dockets on East District and West District. Both have dockets on Wednesdays. And there's a Monday overlap of dockets. So we're still using the posse. I typed in 37, but I was supposed to type in 68.7 hours of posse hours just for 2 of our posse members for June for courtroom hours. Transports, we are being very mindful with our transports, and we're combining transport as much as we can. We've been to Ellensburg, Benton County, Yakima, Skamania County, and Norcor. We were going to be going to Kent, however, they only gave us a 2-hour window to pick up an inmate, which is very unreasonable, and I don't understand why they won't work with this. It was a DUI warrant. I really wanted to get the subject because I think that person needs to be held accountable, but they would only hold for 2 hours, so we obviously can't jump in a helicopter or a plane and get there in 2 hours either, so we were kind of out of luck. We had to have him released. We've not had an increase in any illness in the jail with COVID or other illnesses. The jail, I did a walkthrough the other day, it's still very clean, and inmates are keeping their cells and stuff pretty clean for a jail. Still doesn't stink in there, which is kind of nice. Population of the jail is averaging about 25 with various increases and decreases throughout the week. Our holding cells have remained full of individuals who have to be segregated due to mental health and or behavioral issues. These inmates require more face-to-face time and takeaway time for the regular assignments required throughout the day. I was down in the jail for about 3.5 hours yesterday, and I've got one in crisis. He's been in there since he arrived in June because you can't let him out anywhere else. He floods his cells. He's very disruptive, screaming at the top of his lungs, pounding on the doors. It's very frustrating to staff because he's just a mental and behavioral problem child. Hopefully we get rid of him soon. I tried to offer him to Norcor the other day, but they wouldn't take him. The classes we are offering now, such as AA, MRT, Bible studies, and church, and the food handlers program, keeps the inmates busy during the day so that their time is occupied and not trying to destroy things in the jail. It's a really good positive approach to our inmate management, and none of that would be possible without the use of volunteers. I think there is 6 volunteers that rotate through AA that come through. So it's a really good program, and the guys are really glad to be back in. We haven't had them in the last, I believe, 2 years. Generally, this time of year, we send inmates out to work with buildings and grounds at the fairgrounds to get the fair grounds ready for the fair in August. Unfortunately, I don't have any inmates that are meeting that requirement. And so now we don't have anybody to go help. Because those guys did everything from, helping with plumbing or digging and painting and everything. They put in a lot of hours. So I know that that's going to have a huge impact this year. The correction staff and posse continue to work countless hours at what is sometimes called a thankless job. And it is pretty thankless most of the time in there. The inmates don't always appreciate the help that they get. My staff do what is asked of them and beyond, and we cannot thank them enough for their dedication to the department. Susie Mesker is our record specialist for the Corrections Division, and she handles all of the jail records. And let me tell you, there's piles and piles and piles of records. She also maintains all the deposits and record keeping for the inmate funds and is our primary person for ordering all the supplies for all the divisions within the sheriff's office. And that's a pretty daunting task at times. We all really appreciate her hard work and the dedication to the department. The Correction Division will be seeing many changes in the future as we continue to hire and transition with a younger staff. The challenges are different when the ages of our corrections deputies are lower, with fewer life experiences versus an older seasoned staff. We all rise to the challenge and continue to use every opportunity as a training moment. And I don't think that I noted that we did give a conditional offer to Dylan Layfield, who was a local young man who graduated from Goldendale High School a couple years ago and recently, last month, graduated from college with a degree in criminal justice. It's been busy. I get to go to
Run a
Skamania
good
County
bed and
today.
breakfast and
Yeah.
serve good meals apparently, so
Well, I can't say the meals are good, but
hopefully I never find out.
Put mints on the pillows.
Uh-huh.
Put mints on the pillows.
Yeah,
bedtime stories.
bedtime nightmares.
That's right.
So what is the difference, sorry, moving ahead, on burglary and like theft other and, because I'm trying to like piece it together, like what actual percentage, and I'm like, well, how some of these kind of fit together.
Well, think of burglary is you're forcing entry into something, or you're in a
house.
place where you don't belong, right? So you don't necessarily have to force entry. Somebody doesn't lock their front door. Well, they don't have to lock their front door for it to be a burglary. You enter or remain unlawfully with the intent to commit a crime. You don't actually have to commit the crime. You just have to go in with the intent. And sometimes intent is inferred, right?
Entering it by itself, is that a crime though?
I'm sorry?
Entering it by itself is a crime,
Yeah,
right?
in Washington, it would be burglary.
Okay.
So, if somebody goes into a facility where they don't belong, but they don't necessarily go in with the intent to do anything more than, say, trespass, then there are different levels of trespass. So you don't necessarily get up to a burglary level
Okay.
on some of that stuff. So it's kind of a simple, but not so simple explanation. And then theft, it just depends on the particular category. So a lot of our theft others would be like, it's not a shoplift, it's not a theft from a motor vehicle, it's not a theft of certain things. It's just kind of it's a theft and it doesn't really have a category that fits specifically for that.
Is your air wing starting to do their fire checks?
Yeah, they fly, especially during this season. Look for smoke where smoke's not at, or supposed to be. And so, yeah, they've been very helpful in the past in that, and, yeah, very active.
Any questions for
I
Carmen?
do, but I have to like stand up. Walk that direction.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
I plead the fifth. I want my attorney present.
I don't want the name on the record.
Oh, yeah.
Familiar.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
So I've received messages, and I guess my question is, how big of a threat am I looking at? Threat to violence?
Well, that person
Individual?
has a pretty lengthy
Criminal
History.
record.
criminal record with violence and things
Against
of that,
officers?
against everybody.
Yeah.
Obviously, everybody.
Proceed with caution is your,
Do some reason.
Absolutely.
I mean, are you aware of the Tri-Cities connection and the things that happened over there?
no,
Then I would encourage you to look into that.
okay. Maybe I'll schedule a meeting with you guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He wasn't trying to say the name.
It's all right.
wanna rile him up anymore.
Most of the community knows his
Yeah,
history.
yeah. No, I'd be on guard.
I'd be careful with that.
Yeah.
You have a CPL, I would exercise my rights with that.
Yep.
Do you have any questions for Carmen?
You know,
Not to change the subject.
Okay,
All right.
so in the civil area, we've got body worn cameras that we're still waiting for. They say it's a supply chain issue, so we will, when they
Get there.
arrive, I'll send out like fireworks up in the sky.
No.
Just make sure so you're saying it'll be here by New Year's?
Probably. That is exactly what I'm saying.
After 6 PM, right?
Yeah.
And then the Marine, we talked a few months ago about a new boat. We did not apply for that grant because the boats were $350,000 and they would only give us $150,000. So when I let the Marine program know that we would not be applying, they said, well, can we loan you a boat? Here's our two options. So we will have a new boat on loan. We'll just have to pay the insurance on it, which we'll swap out.
That was the best grant you've never applied for.
Thank you.
how long is it on loan for?
So as far as what I'm understanding is as long as we need it.
Oh.
They want to make sure because they see the value of all of our calls, especially the rescues, and they want to make sure we have the appropriate boat. Because the one that we've got is not meant for some of that surf, dangerous nighttime rescues, that type of stuff. So.
And that's similar to how Oregon does it. So for all the counties in Oregon that have marine programs, none of them own their boats. They're owned by the Oregon Boating Department or whatever it is.
It's weird.
So-
It's like, here's a grant, please buy our boat. Oh, you can't? Oh, we'll give it to you.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they've only got two boats and they've offered us a choice. And so they're sending me the documents on each of those boats. And the Marine Patrol will vote on which one they think will work best for their situations.
The price was right.
Yeah.
I mean, anything that's too good to be true is always too good to be true. So what's the catch?
I'm sitting here going, are they giving it to you on a yearly loan basis or is it a multi-year loan basis?
I believe it will be a multi-year loan basis.
I would suspect it's gonna be until they take it back.
Yeah.
And they'll probably monitor the program and want, obviously, we try to patrol as much as we can because we have a lot of waterways that there's things that are going on.
Yeah.
So I would suspect that if we're not using the boat, they're
Right,
probably
they'll
gonna
give it
come
to
in and
somebody
say,
else.
all right, well, we tried,
Well-
you guys didn't want it.
But if it's
Here,
a nice boat, I can assume you'll be in that one more than the one you have. So that could save wear and tear on the one you have too.
Yes.
It's not uncommon for us to have multiple marine issues at a time. So there are gonna be times where a couple of boats will be used. That's why getting more of the deputies trained for Marine Patrol is gonna be important. Mitch Kegley, who was our deputy out in Bickleton that just retired, at one time, he was our Marine Patrol coordinator, and he was very active in that program. So now that he's gone, we've got to get somebody through that training. The nice part is that training's all free, but it's only offered twice a year. And I think we're past that time now, so,
So you haven't seen the boats yet though, have you?
yeah.
We know what one of them is. It's the big yellow boat that they've got up in the sound. And so I'll send you guys when we get the demographics on the
So are they
boats.
gonna be asking you to work in other counties then too, or anything?
No.
That big yellow boat?
No, we'll bring it down here.
There was a suggestion of us reaching out to Skamania County
That's where I was going with.
and seeing if they will, in exchange for us patrolling their waterways on, when we're available, see if they'll turn some of that marine fund over to us instead of turning it back to the state.
Because they don't have any marine.
They don't have a marine patrol program.
I knew there was a catch in here.
Yep.
The only other catch I can see is, are we responsible for the motor if the motor blows? Or are they?
Well, we'll get the contract. We'll
Yeah, we need to.
have
Yeah,
all of that.
If there's any catch, we'll certainly
Yeah.
notify you folks.
But I'd rather blow up their motor than our motor.
That's what I mean, if we're not on the.
Yeah, but we don't wanna
stuff,
pay for it
use
though.
theirs. I mean,
We don't wanna pay
no,
for it though.
no.
That's the thing, is if this is something coming out of the sound, is this a bad motor because it's got salt water
Well,
running through it?
that's my concern.
That's the
is,
fastest way to
did it
eat
get-
through a motor.
Did it get flushed? Did it get,
Yeah.
so if it got blown up by running at 9,000 RPM up there and then we have it for a month and it blows up, are we liable?
Yeah, and then as soon as we replace the motor, they
Then
take
they
it
take
back.
it back, so that's
We're
what I'm
not
saying,
playing-
that's the only catch, but.
We're not playing that game at
Yeah.
all. Not coming out of us, no.
The marine boating program has been very generous to us. I sent a request for number of supplies for the community days, shipped us 500 whistles, and we gave all 500 rescue whistles out.
I think I heard all 500.
Well, that's because, did I finally force you to take one?
No, but my wife took 3.
There you
go,
The whole way
yeah.
walking through it and
So-
every kid's blowing a whistle
Yeah.
and it was.
Yep.
But,
We like to be known in our communities. just
Have
saying.
you guys been out on the water and doing checks and everything so
Their
far?
deputies have been out on the water, yes.
We've-
I have not personally, but.
we have been filing our reports regularly. We've had an increase in our hours, and we anticipate, we did Operation Dry Water, and that was successful. And we'll have a few more programs that are time-sensitive during the summer that we'll be
And
addressing.
summer finally showed up.
Yes. So budget, we're on track. And then posse. We've been utilizing the volunteers in the front office and court, and then my phone rings constantly. Can you send some posse members over to help us with this community event or that? We need somebody to watch overnight, the time capsule and the Native American things. The requests are amazing. And every single event within this community has requested use of the posse for parking, security, etc. So Mudfest is coming up. We have 5 volunteers for that. Trout Lake Parade, we've got volunteers for, they always want us to help coordinate traffic. Then we have the fair, and the posse do everything from taking tickets to assist with parking to just walking around and assisting people, as well as being at our booth. And then we've got Huck Fest, so there will be a parade and our booth. So we still have a busy season ahead of us. On August 2nd, I will be going to Columbia County. They're having a national night out, And they're one of the counties in the state that are wanting to mimic our program. So they've got a bunch of volunteers that have signed up, and I'm helping them start their own prostate program, as well as some national jurisdictions and one international jurisdiction. So our program is well sought out throughout the state and other counties in the country. And so we're going to help others utilize, because as you know, we have a financial crunch of budget, and these people are wanting to donate their time to us. So the assistants in the front office, they pass their security, they're going through the security, criminal justice security training. And so they'll all have their certifications that they work there. So, I just can't say enough about how awesome our volunteers are.
Mhm.
You want to give them an invitation on July?
I didn't know if you
Oh,
wanted
I
to.
thought you were done.
I haven't printed it yet.
You got it?
Is this the July 23rd KCSO Awards dinner?
Yeah.
Yes, it
Okay,
is.
I was just gonna bring that up, so go ahead.
You are all invited for our awards dinner. We also invite all of our neighboring jurisdictions and everybody that we work with, so that we can thank our deputies and staff appropriately.
I think you've attended, have you?
I have. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a nice evening.
Any questions on the hosting?
Just always like, why do you choose Oregon to spend all our money?
Choose Oregon because it's the only place you can have that event that size.
Is it really?
We don't
And the-
have a venue
And the
here.
parking, and
Hotels.
the non-host
Oh.
bar. I don't want deputies or law enforcement. You can get a motel room.
Right.
Got the
Yeah.
parking.
And that is a big deal. So, I mean, when we attended, we got a hotel room just so we were
Yep.
not driving an hour home after 2 margaritas,
Yeah.
Not that I only had
So-
2, but
Are my seatmates good with
Yes.
signing this?
yes.
All right.
So I'm just gonna touch briefly on what you talked about, Dan. So if there are people that you have concerns with that are reaching out to you or causing issues or are potential threats, you have the sheriff's and my cell phone numbers. If you're curious about background on them or anything else, you're welcome to call me at any time. And I can certainly, if I don't know, I can find out.
See, most of the people are, I would say, relatively harmless.
Right.
Even the ones we have that, testify before us in an angry way.
Sure.
I'm not worried about them. I'm worried about them riling up the unstable person who's hiding in the back of the room.
The quiet one.
The quiet one, right.
Yep.
So, the screamers in here, I'm not too worried about. It's the random dude that I don't recognize the face. And we do get, the position just, you get lambasted by people on Facebook or messengers or text or phone or whatever. Most of them, you just kind of put them on ignore and they disappear and go after the next guy. But this one was one of the ones that was a little more strange and hostile and.
Yeah.
Well, let us know. Serious.
Reach out if you guys have concerns with people.
Can I ask, was this a response? Was this at your town hall meeting?
No. Town hall meeting went good.
Okay. that's all.
This
I was
was,
wondering.
the initial outreach was just a picture of comprehensive mental health's letter to their users, that they're no longer gonna be providing services. And I think this person is a user and their, offspring is a user. And so then we got into the explanation of comprehensive, and they don't like comprehensive, and I don't like comprehensive, and hopefully we can do better, and we're working on it, and but then it kind of quickly got hostile, so I quickly stopped answering, but they kept coming. So it's just, but there hasn't been any new ones in 4 days or something,
Okay.
so.
And you might still get some. So
as I said, when people are too hostile, I just quit talking to them, and then they get even more hostile because you stop talking to them. But that is a price you pay if you're gonna have outreach to the citizens, so.
I see that quite often.
And I'm not terribly worried about it. I have
And
a really good qualified score through the posse program, so.
there you go. And I will say that most of law enforcement, they really appreciate the position that you guys are taking with comprehensive. It is so frustrating to see that the county's paying for something that they haven't been receiving. And that really is the feeling of the, you know, the deputies on the road and those of us in the office that are reading the reports and kind of looking at stuff and wondering why after 4 hours, they get a phone call saying, oh, nope, I guess we're not coming.
It's gonna take time, but I'm very thankful that the board is also interested in, because it isn't gonna take much to make it better than what it was, but hopefully we can make it even better than that.
And we
so.
certainly appreciate that position that you guys are taking on that.
Absolutely.
Bear with us, we'll try to get it handled. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Great day. All right, 11:11. Anything you gentlemen want to talk about?
Oh. There was some citizen complaint on community days with posse.
About possum?
Somebody pulled in at night, so the
Oh, I
community
saw
days
that
time
one.
capsule
Here at
committee
the,
wanted security for the TPs and vendors that were gonna be taking their stuff home. Apparently somebody pulled into the parking lot. And posse went over and shined a flashlight, what are you doing here? You need to leave. You know, if you don't leave, anything that comes up missing, you're gonna be the prime witness or the prime suspect. And that person got hostile and kind of didn't like the disrespect of being called a criminal. So I think the community in large in response thought that potentially that was handled. Could have been handled with a little more finesse. And that person was gonna take it up with Bob on Monday. I was gonna ask him about it.
I saw that on Facebook too.
So can you share your town hall meeting experience?
Oh, yeah, no.
I was thinking of you.
So.
The building was still standing later in the week, so, okay.
Well, yeah, I won't go to that part. Greg, his wife, can't think of her name, the lady that always,
Cheryl Magnuson?
yes. Delmer, his wife, Sherry Bosque, Dave Barta, Gene Callan, Larry Hochter, Ken McCune, Susan Kelsey.
Okay,
Those are the ones I can remember off the top of my head. I think that was it. There may have been somebody else.
okay.
It lasted about 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Okay.
Sherry talked for half of that. It started with kind of, I guess I'd say rules. Let's remain civil. Let's remain, and then it got hostile because I was asking to remain civil. But I think once they, I guess I'd say understood why I was asking them, just let's be calm, answer questions. If this goes well, you can have more. I think everybody was more on their best behavior. Everybody didn't agree on every issue, and you can kind of see the temperature rise a little bit, but it never got bad. It never got out of hand. Like I said, Sherry kind of dominated it because Sherry's kind of a dominator. And I'd have to kind of stop and cut her off and then take a question from Dave, who's been waiting 15 minutes. But I think it was enlightening. Greg only talked for maybe 20 seconds, and that's when I asked him a question. Other than that, it was pretty much everybody else in the room. It was, for the most part, calm, no problem.
Okay, good.
I commend him on, being as civil as possible in a heated conversation.
Range of topics, was it?
For the most part, most of it was solar, obviously. Sherry did get into under canvas and CUP, and then she went on attacking, essentially, or going after landfill. And who do we have that checks to make sure the water coming off of there is not contaminated? And Dell got into the liner thickness and how much weight can go onto the liner. And I mean, then it started getting into the weeds there. It started getting into landfill with, why are you potentially having contract negotiations when there's pending lawsuits? And does that worry you at all? And no. Larry Hochter asked about mental health because he's on the hospital board. So then I kind of gave an update to him on the mental health, which it seems like nobody in the room knew anything about it. And that kind of gave them a little more insight that we handle a lot of issues and it isn't just solar. So that was good. Let's see what other topics were in there. That's about it. Windmill blades, FSAC, recycling programs, legislation that's, like they had windmill recycling blade legislation in 2020 that didn't go, and then in 2021 that didn't go. And it got a placeholder for 2022. So I'm like, if you want windmill recycling, here's the phone numbers to your legislators.
Okay,
Kind of a scenario.
okay,
I
good,
think
but
a lot of
overall
it-
it was positive and
It was positive. I think a lot of them, I would say, think we have more oversight or control in certain areas than we do. So it's like the landfill, well, they're regulated by the state and the Fed, you need to contact them. And we discussed public records. What is an actual public record? And what is not a public record? Which led to a little bit of debate. But all in all, it was quite calm, quite civil, and I think they did well. And I think they did well to make sure, because they knew if it didn't go well, not only would I not do it again, but they have no chance of getting you guys to show up if it didn't go well. Because I think the community has a lot of questions. I think the community would like to be educated on the solar topic with correct information that they're not getting. But I also think the community would like to be educated on other topics like mental health and whatnot, that I talked to some people that would like to come to said meetings, but they were afraid of what it could potentially be, or it would be solar dominated or what have you. But hopefully, because it was calm, there will be more people interested in a future meeting that may be able to reach more topics than just, I think there was conversation about dog pounds too. That crosses my
Okay,
mind, and childcare was in there.
okay, well,
But other than that, no, everything was calm and hunky-dory. Time capsule thing was really well. They were worried about how many people would attend the time capsule opening on Friday, and the number had to be hundreds.
Really?
I mean, it was a lot. It went off pretty good. Community Days Parade was big as it always is, and Community Days itself was big. So, yeah, all in all, good stuff. The Greater Goldendale Community Enrichment is what they officially named themselves. That little side group I'm trying to start, a 501c3. Met last night. They were supposed to have a meeting with Seek. And then Seek got COVID, so that got postponed.
yeah, that's what I heard, a lot of them.
So, and then that's that, and I plan on going to Canada tonight on tomorrow at 6 o'clock, which I was asked to, if I wanted to debate at Canada tonight as a PCO, and I was told, yeah. Has that ever happened before? No. We'll go ahead and give my time to the actual candidates that are running for office that are only going to get 3 minutes, so. It'll be interesting, but we'll see how that goes.
Do you have anything, Commissioner Sutter? I'll give you guys a little mental health update real quick. Comprehensive pulls out of the DCR services August 6th. That is, in that time frame, we have a lot of things to do. We have to get an interlocal between us and Skamania County. Skamania County will hold that for 90 days, so we can work underneath them for 90 days. We're supposed to find our own contractors that will be managing it, but it'll be going through Skamania County because we don't have the facility agreement. We've got to create our own policies and procedures and everything in order to do that. So we have to get the interlocal agreement on board. We have to get the contractors through the professional services contracting process for Skamania County. And then, we've got a lot of work to do. And then we have to take it through both boards. And when you start adding all this time up between now and August 6th, it's tight.
Not a lot of time.
Tight. We're gonna need help from both our prosecuting attorney and Adam Kick in Skamania County to review these interlocals and turn it around and get it to the commissioners for signatures. But come August 6th, we don't have any other options.
Other options.
Is there,
And Skamania County's actual DCRs don't want to work in Klickitat County. So we have to kind of find our own, so.
is there any other, let's call them comprehensives out there in the world that are willing to take this on for a short time while we build a program?
We've talked with the groups down in,
We're too far away from Vancouver for them to be interested.
yep, and even the one in Vancouver, they're starting up, so they don't have the bandwidth to add anybody else to it. And so, I think we'll end up having a hybrid, between, hopefully we can get 4 or 5 people that are willing to do it. It's kind of, you get 1 call a day on average, and this is for the actual TCR services, not like the regular mental health stuff.
Right.
And then we can start designing and building, but it's a lot of work for Director Quinn. And on our phone call today, Leah Becknell with Beacon, they've got some money that we could use to hire a consultant as we build this out, somebody with knowledge that can hold the hand of Aaron and us and get us through it. And they can probably add that to a contract so that we can do that, because we've only got 90 days with Skamania being kind of our, fiscal sponsor or whatever. And then from then on out, we need to have our long-range plan. So. And that long-range plan is likely going to be something that will grow with.
Grow
time.
into, yeah.
It's like, here's the
Start with
base,
the baseline minimum.
the bare minimum, bare
And
bones.
on-call somebody to answer a phone and then move to the bigger, yeah.
So what are we gonna do though about not having any DCRs?
Well, so I think hopefully Aaron's found 4 people or so that are willing to do it. But like what you're doing is you get, so much money per day for being on call.
Right.
And then whenever you get called out, this is how much money you
You
need.
get.
And then whether, we don't know, like, because Comprehensive had those little cameras or whatever in the jail. Well, is that owned by Beacon? Is that owned by Comprehensive? Are those staying? Is Beacon gonna
Right,
take them? And so I know what Skamania County's doing is they've got the Zoom product that's HIPAA compliant for encryption. And it's like, well, if you could just, use your phone or your iPad, and we have an iPad inside the jail, then you could do it that way, and that might actually work, because I guess those units, those roll around units that they had, wouldn't work half the time.
Okay.
But I mean, the whole thing is I want to try to create something that's as efficient as possible, that, we can get the job done and provide a better service, which, like you said, it's not a
The bar's
high-
pretty low.
hard jump.
Not a high bar,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
Yeah, you're only hurdling, you're not even high jumping here. So that's kind of the update right now. Aaron and I have meetings with the Healthcare Authority and everybody else we can think of that, we're trying to get this going as quickly as possible. and hopefully fast track the, us being, a facility.
Yeah, if we can at least, I guess I'd say get the DCR set up on call. God, that almost gives us more than comprehensive did right there, and then we could build what we want to do long-term.
Well, I'm hoping that, once we get started with Skamania County, because we also have to, what we'll do is, how we have that big, long list of names for DCRs? Well, Clark County, they just say, here's the agency we used, and they have people that are qualified underneath it. And so what we'll say is here's Skamania counties, we'll add all our contractors to Skamania County, and then hopefully, we can fill some of the gaps in with 1 or 2 people from Skamania County that's willing to wake up at 3 a.m. and do a video call.
Take a video
Just a
call.
video call, nothing special, and then we can go from there. But,
Okay.
I mean, I think we can, I think as long as we can get the interlocal done, I think everything else will fall into place. And we can advertise for the contractor position, get it in the newspaper. But then if we already have people, we can still just hire them.
Yeah.
We don't have to wait for the advertising to be done. Because we need multiple.
Right.
But
Beacon's got money for a consultant to help guide us through the long-range plan.
and hopefully some for even the short stuff, the 60 days.
Well, because Beacon they want us to be successful.
Well, and
It's in their interest.
Yeah.
if they're not sending the 1.2 or $1.4 million check to be comprehensive anymore,
Well, remember, comprehensive still getting paid for the regular stuff that they do, out of their White Salmon and Goldendale office. So really it was, the DCR stuff was about 700,000, 760 or something. Which is still a fair amount of money.
which is enough to cover us doing the DCRs.
Maybe. Yeah, it should cover it.
Okay.
Any questions? I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion to recess for the lunch break, be back at 1 o'clock.
I would second the motion.
There's been a motion and a second to recess. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Being as 1 o'clock, we are going to call the regular business meeting of the Klickitat County Board of County Commissioners to order. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone would please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please let the record show all 3 commissioners are present.
Excuse me. Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion to approve the business agenda as presented.
I would second the motion.
There is a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the commissioners' meeting minutes from June 7th, June 14th, June 21st, and July 5th, 2022 as presented.
I'll second that motion.
There's a motion and a second to approve the minutes of June and July 5th. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Next, we will move into citizen comment. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per individual. You can ask a question, you can make a statement, you can tell us anything you want. The Board of County Commissioners will reserve their time to respond until 1:25 so that we can have more people ask questions now that everyone is entering. Wow, slow day. So as always, we will start in the room. You have 3 minutes. If anybody would like to provide public comment or talk about the weather or community days or anything else. No? Okay, we will go online. Is there anybody who would like to provide public comment? Raise your hand. Turn your video on. *6 if you're on the phone. I'm not seeing anyone. It must be that nice of a day out.
Or they just know I have hiccups right now and they're trying to,
You got hiccups?
oh yeah,
You wanna like press the button?
try not to make them that loud.
Okay, well, if anybody would like to provide public comment, get our attention. Until then, we have plenty of work to be doing. E4 to Dallasport? Sorry, Scott. Holy Toledo.
Miss Ivy, when I get done with these, I usually just stack them up here. Would you rather me pass them that way and you can check signatures while we're in the meeting, or stack them up here? I'm open.
$72.
She's got her hand up waving, so we'll start that routine.
Ouch. Still can't make money at 100%. We still have nobody looking forward to making public comment. Oh, we got a hand up. Miss Bosque.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. It's a beautiful day in in Klickitat County for sure. I'm sure that mountain is smiling upon you all today out there with beautiful views. That brings me to, I would like to publicly request from our county commissioners to reinstate or to develop another moratorium to look at industrial solar ordinances. As we all know, there's projects that are still looking to be proposed around the city of Goldendale. And I don't believe that's the best future for Goldendale and its prosperity as a city and the seat of our county to be covered in black glass as you come up, or industrial solar panels as you come up the 97 and as you're in the city. So I would like to request that you talk about another moratorium, because this is coming and you've been warned, you've been sent articles about how solar can be devastating, how it could wreck farmlands forever, how wind is, if you don't have the right decommissioning, how it's inefficient energy. Our county does not benefit from it except for a few farmers. And I hope that they're not going to be scammed in the deal from these foreign entities that you also have been warned about. These are the same companies you are currently working with in Klickitat County. And these foreign entities, or whether they have a US-based front man, they have lawsuits against them, racketeering, environmental damage. So in the sake of protecting Klickitat County, we know you have the authority to have a moratorium to seriously look at what affects solar, industrial solar, not independent homes or personal property solar, but industrial solar has on the environment, the people who live around it, the lithium batteries, as we saw in North Illinois in 2021, that evacuated over 4,000 people out of a town in 2-3 days to put out. It's serious. This is a serious situation. So I'm asking again that you commissioners please impose another moratorium and seriously look at writing protective ordinances for our county and its future for industrial solar, especially around Goldendale. And would you answer me, if you have time, what your position is on giving the county solar ordinances. If this industrial solar world is at our doorsteps, it is your responsibility to write these ordinances. It is your job to do that, to protect our county. I'd like to know your positions on giving our county solar ordinances.
Thank you, Ms. Bosque. Your time is up. Next up, we have Pat Arnold. Pat, are you there?
I'm here. Good afternoon.
Good
My
afternoon.
first comment is about something that's a little old, but I haven't been able to be here for a few weeks. Back before the paving was done on the bridge, before the bridge was closed, I think it was the week before that, they had a problem with the lift for the barges and they had to close unexpectedly. And yes, they posted on their website, but if you're coming from the Washington side, you can get onto that bridge if there are delays and whatnot. You can get on and get stuck. And if you're coming from the Hood River side, of course, you're going to see there's traffic backed up and you're not going to end up on the bridge being stuck if you don't want to. I missed an appointment in Portland that day, and I finally got to Hood River, I talked to somebody who couldn't get to work on time and somebody who missed a doctor's appointment. I'm wondering if it'd be possible to ask the port if they have something unexpected like that. I mean, they posted the day before, but it's not practical for me to check my email for the port every single time I want to cross the bridge. And when there's 2 weeks notice, I get the emails and so on. But if there's something unexpected, if they could post a person, a sign, something on the Washington side to keep people from getting onto the bridge and getting stuck when they don't want to be there, they can choose alternate routes. So that'd be my first thing I want to say something about. The other thing is that I had a phone call from somebody in Trout Lake about 10 days ago, wanting to know if the shorelines regulations are going to change in the critical areas because they'd heard that the buffers were going to get bigger and they wanted to quickly build a house before the buffers went to 200 feet and so on. And my response to that was, it doesn't really matter what the buffers are. The point is you ought to build your house in a place that's safe, where the river is not going to disturb you, where the river can do what the river does. There can be floods. There can be whatever acts of nature that'll happen. And, you know, we've had several floods here, big ones in the time I've lived here. The Klickitat, I mean, the White Salmon doesn't tend to move its channel too much the way some rivers do, but still, there are reasons not to build close to the shoreline of the river, and there are reasons to leave the undisturbed buffer, regardless of what the regulations say. And I want, you know, I'm thinking I'm going to be coming here for the next few weeks with some quotes and things about this. It's like, it's not really about the regulations. It's about the actual practical matter. And there was a shorelines applications about 4, 5, 6 years ago from the Killians, who did have the river move on them. And I'm sure some of you remember that, but, and they spent $250,000 to do the right thing. But anyway, all right, I'll stop. I can see my time is up. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Arnold. Do we have anybody else who would like to provide public comment that is in the room or online? If you're online, *6 to unmute yourself, raise your hand, or turn your video on. Unless you have bad internet service, then don't turn your video on. Oh, come on up.
Kathy Moko, Goldendale. Just wanted to say what a super community days we had. It was huge, big parade, Downtown was full of people. And afterwards, looking at the courthouse lawn, it was still full of people, you know, maybe 2:33. I was very impressed. And I have a question. Everything was very neat and tidy. We went to dinner later and everything was clean. So did people just clean it up, or does the city or the county clean up afterwards? Just wondered, but it was a very successful community day.
Thank you, Ms. Moko. Do we have anyone else looking to provide public comment? Thank you. I was looking. And I'm blind. Okay, is there anyone else looking to provide public comment? I'm not seeing anyone. Would either of my seatmates care to respond to anyone?
If you're looking at me, I guess I'm either of your seatmates.
Yes, oh, we got somebody?
I've got somebody.
Oh, 7211.
This is Greg Wagner with CEAS. You commissioners continue to state that CEAS members and citizens are giving false information concerning solar, yet you have produced no proof to back up your claims. I am asking you to produce a document with undisputable findings of facts that prove CEAS members and citizens' statements concerning solar are false, and to also provide and prove that solar will not harm our county and its citizens. When will this document be available? Mr. Souter, earlier today, you called last Tuesday's meeting with Mr. Christopher at Town Hall. You have stated, I have done dozens and dozens of town halls. I love town halls. I would like to know, are you willing to hold a town hall as Commissioner Christopher did? And when can one be scheduled? I'd also like to know, the county has a Klickitat County Solid Waste Advisory Committee and a Klickitat County Land and Natural Resource Advisory Committee, but yet neither of these committees have any members. I would like to know why those committees are not staffed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. Okay, do we have anyone else looking to provide public comment? Okay, now would you like to go, sir?
No, I'll hold for a second.
Commissioner Sauter?
I'm good for now.
All right. Well, I will say, Ms. Moko, on the way back from lunch, I actually made that same comment to Commissioner Christopher. I was like, wow, this place looks really clean and really good, and all the flowers and everything. So I don't know who cleaned it. If everybody cleaned it, I would assume that the city had a part in it. But I don't know if we had anything to do with it as the county. I don't think so. In regards to Ms. Arnold with the bridge, I saw that post on Facebook where people were stuck. I agree, if it's something that's not like shutting, if they have any advance warning, It only makes sense that the port drive across the bridge and put a cone up to stop people from turning onto it so that they can at least know that they can turn around and go somewhere else. That would just probably the only polite thing to do. And I've actually written that down to talk to port staff about. So thank you for that comment as well. And as for buffers, Ms. Arnold, we are working on our critical areas ordinance update. The Planning Commission is currently holding workshops on that. As to the shorelines management, we're kind of in a holding pattern right now. We're working on the critical areas update right now. So nothing has changed with regards to buffers or where you can or cannot build a house under those terms. Clean up. I'm going to think on these other ones. Is there anybody else who would like to provide public comment? Who has not spoke? Is there anybody else who would like to provide public comment? Okay. Well, I guess I'll continue on. Ms. Bosque, with regards to solar ordinances, industrial solar and development, I would say that Klickitat County has been a pioneer in renewable resource development for decades. The county has plans in place for economic development that support the energy development of this county. We are an exporter of energy around the Northwest and the West Coast. And that Klickitat County has benefited greatly from all of our economic development from renewable resources. When you speak about your worry to the solar ordinances or decommissioning, what we have seen with regards to wind power, we have seen, these projects are only supposed to last 20 years to 25 years. And we are seeing redevelopment of existing sites. We are seeing them put larger blades on that produce more power. That continues to reinvest in the community. Those are jobs that are going to locals. Those are locals that are living in Klickitat County and working on these large projects. and that continue to work on them. The subcontractors working on these projects, many of them are in Klickitat County. I would say that hands down, the renewable resource development that has occurred in this county has been a net positive for the county as a whole. It has been a positive for the taxpayers of this county. It has helped subsidize everyone's property taxes so that we can continue to provide the services that we all desire and wish for and need as citizens of this county. When it comes to industrial solar, I have every faith that if an application comes forward for solar development, then an environmental impact statement will be conducted. And during that environmental impact statement, there will be a scoping process in which all citizens can have their say on what they think needs to go into that environmental impact statement that will then create everything that you're worried about, that you've continued to be worried about, will then be discussed and decided upon, and what was best for the county as a whole will occur. I have full faith and credit in the process, because this is not anything new. We've been doing these things for decades. So in regards to Mr. Wagner, the Land and Natural Resources Committee has been in a hiatus. It was originally formed, or at least as far back as I can remember, they were working on the watershed resource inventory areas, the WIRA areas. They've worked on different processes during the planning stages for a lot of the environmental ordinances and how the state, when the state was passing laws. And that committee was primarily comprised of local citizens who would give direction to the Board of County Commissioners on all these changes. Planning in the environmental side has ramped down over the last 10 to 15 years. Ecology's grants for planning aren't there like they used to be. And a lot of those issues that we had have been resolved. And so at any time we can reconstitute that, that committee, it just hasn't occurred yet because the staff that we have that are working, that would be working on that, are working on other projects. I see it more as we went from the infancy stage to now we're in the mature stage and we know what we're dealing with, and now we're just managing the laws that are out there. With regards to the solid waste committee, I don't think that's been held since I've been a commissioner, but I believe that the Solid Waste Advisory Committee was used during the update of our solid waste management plan. Am I correct? Okay. So that is another one of those committees that is not always there, not always, functioning. I'm a firm believer that you should only have a meeting when you have a purpose for a meeting. Having a meeting to have a meeting to talk about having a meeting is not good governance and it's not good business. Would either of my seatmates?
Covered it. I will follow up Ms. Moko's. I also had, it was a great day as far as the parade, and I thought town looked, I don't know if it was just the weather, it just seemed like Goldendale had a special luster to it on Saturday anyway, when I was, it was, sunny and warm. It was a little windy, but it was, I think folks seemed like they were really on their best behavior too. Like, I think people really appreciated being able to have, a little more normal event a day. So, yeah, and I don't know as far as cleanup, if everybody just kind of cleaned up after themselves, or, because I don't know that we had anything to do with it.
Hard to believe though.
I
When you
know.
look at a baseball stadium,
I know when it's done, it's a mess. So it's hard. Somebody must have
Have some
cleaned
faith
up.
in the people in
That's true.
Goldendale, you people.
Could be. All right.
You're changing.
The other thing I would just talk about change, the new painting on the side of the old pharmacy building of the observatory I think it's spectacular.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I like the first painting. It's more detailed. You can sit there for like 5 hours and try to figure out how many mice are in it. But it's like fighting Waldo in the old cartoon days of my age. But it's small compared to the side of the building, and the full size is kind of neat to see. And for those wondering, I had a bacon wrapped hot dog at the community days, and it was fantastic.
And then you sat there counting mice the whole time?
No, I did that a different day.
Okay, we have time for one more public comment. Hopefully it's something positive. If there's anything anybody would like to say. Okay, well, we are going to close public comment a few minutes early, and we are going to move into our unfinished business, which is the follow-up discussion with our Small Business Development Center, Ms. Lowe.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me again. It'll set up here. I got your request to try to make the numbers work. So I've been working on it. And a couple of things. I apologize for the format, but also as I was sending it, I've been sick on and off and lots of work. But as I also felt that you have my working document, and it's a working document that can be manipulated in Excel. So if one of you wants to play with it, or there's other sessions and you need it, you know where I'm coming from and where are my numbers coming from. So even though I didn't make it pretty, could be helpful. And I do have, and I just asked these amazing ladies to help me out. So I gave you additional information that I've been working in the last 48 hours. And I did run other numbers. So I would like to start with some research that I did the last week, and actually gave me a very good idea of why these numbers are not balancing out and I cannot find a solution. So when I start working on it, I start working from what I know and what I did for a lot of years, and what are the needs, which are full-time, year-round kids. So to my surprise, what I was looking, I started digging into the operations that are actually operating right now in Klickitat County, mainly in White Salmon, which are the large daycare centers. And in the pages that I gave you are the rates. But this is the thing, full day rates are 8 to 2 in the afternoon. So they're not 6 to 5. So when we see that Little Oak is charging $9,160 a month for night, so they charge it of 12 months tuition, but they serve the kids 9 months because they serve kids. They don't serve kids in the summer, and their full day means 8 o'clock to 2 o'clock. So when you do the math, if it's an operation with the format that we've been looking at, which was for 5:30 in the morning to 6 in the afternoon, we're talking about $2,000 to $3,000 a month in daycare. I mean, these are school programs. This is a Montessori. Montessori is not regulated by the state, which means they don't have to follow any of the licensing requirements, which kind of saves a chunk more money. But so I look at, there's not a lot in Klickitat County. So I did look at Hood River because a lot of parents go there. So just like Home is a home daycare provider, Kathy has a fantastic reputation. She is a fantastic provider. But if we look at the numbers, are pretty similar, and this is a home situation. Then we have Roots School, which actually is basically daycare that took over after I closed, Bambinos in Hood River. And it is the same thing. The hours are 8 to 2, and then they charge $9 an hour for additional care from 2 to 4, which doesn't even cover where parents get out of work at 5. And it's another $20 a day. So it's another $100 a week, which is another $400 a month on top of the $1,200 a month rates. So the children's place, they don't even advertise their rates, but their full day dropping rate from 7 to 5 is $72 a day, which is $72 if we were doing, it's about $400 a week. No, about 400, yeah, about $400 a week. So this gave me a very, very good idea of what are we talking about. And there's nothing that parents can find under $2,000 to $2,500 a month. And if I look at their policies, and all of them clearly state that there's no siblings discounts. So if you are in with 3 kids, you're talking about $6,000 a month. So that's what I found. That's what is current. These are the current 2022-23 rates. So then I run the numbers the same way I did it, and I will, for your time, I would just like to focus on the last page that I just gave you, which is the last scenario that I ran last night, which is the closest to break even. Because I want to allow time for a discussion, because I'm sure you have a lot of questions. So what I did with this is, this model is based on no infants, 1 toddler room, 1 preschool room, 1 pre-K room, and 2 after school, the capacity for 2 after schools.
What is the age group of after school?
It is anybody who goes to elementary school, so kindergarten and up. So there will be about 5 to 12. So the reason why I did that is because these kiddos need before school care and after school care. And that's the most difficult age if there's not after school activities. And then in the summer, there is no place for those children to go, especially the 6 to 9 years old. They really are with not much to do unless they're summer camps, which are as expensive as daycare. So so the assumptions are not in your, they're in the Excel sheet. So again, I don't have infants. I have 1 toddler classroom, 1 pre-K, one preschool, 1 pre-K, and the capacity for 30 children that are school age. What I did with payroll, I left the same rates. I did reduce the director's salary $10,000 instead of 50. I allowed 40,000, but I increased the fringes to 40%. Based on what the email that I got, and was we were trying to run a model for county employees, and based on the last conversation, what I heard you saying, Chairman, was on the rate is about 40% fringes for county employees. So I was assuming, and these people will be county employees, so I bumped it to 40%. So I removed the lease charges, I remove the loan payment, and I remove the building maintenance, assuming that this is subsidized already because it's a county employee benefit. So with that, with all those modifications, the best I can do was to lose at the rates than we originals. All the original rates are the same, the prices, whatever, and they're on the spreadsheet that I gave you. The loss is $2,600 a month, which equals $22,000 a year. And that was the closest to break even that I could find. The other scenarios that you have in the document that I emailed, we were in the $70,000 loss, $60,000 loss, but this is the closest I could get to break even.
Question, if
Yes,
I
sir.
may. What with this scale, what's the total capacity as far as how many students, how many children?
This one was,
So 100% capacity equals what? What's that?
this one, actually, I was just finishing this morning. I did it last night and this morning. So this, and I will send this document so you have it. This is 57 children. And I run it, you have it in this page. So this is 100% capacity. The loss is 2,600. but the children, so the children are on this model is 57, 7 toddlers, 10 preschoolers, 10 pre-K, and 30 after schoolers. And staff are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 full-time plus the director.
I see you were trying to cut costs, but do you really think you're gonna get a director of this for $40,000? I mean,
No.
I
No.
wanna know, I mean, I understand trying to get as close as possible if you're doing bare bones, but in reality, what do we really think?
You know what, I honestly think that unless it's heavily subsidized, I mean, realistically, nobody will work for less than 50. So I did, yes, the only place that I felt I caught significantly in payroll was with the director. However, when I was rationalizing, and I was not just trying to make the numbers work, it's 40% fringes, which means I do not know the benefit package for the county employees, but I am assuming there's a benefit package for the county employees, which in the numbers that I was running before at $50,000 with a private owner, that was not gonna be benefit packages. So when I reduce the $10,000, I cannot trade it considering that that person will have some benefits because it's a county employee. There will be more fringes cost, but also potentially that person could have their kids in their care as well. So those were my assumptions and my rationale as I was running the numbers to reduce the director salary.
And I would add also to that, and I think she hit what I was thinking, is you also have negotiation room with your director, that, you know, their child gets free childcare as a fringe or a benefit of the job. So you have some ability there.
Right, which in daycare, which in Head Start, it can't. And, you know, I was a director for migrant Head Start, but my children couldn't be part of the program because I was above the, that's why I left Oregon Child Development Coalition, because my children couldn't qualify, so they couldn't be with me. So I was struggling having daycare, so I was like, I'm out of here. But so in
The way I
daycare-
look at it, the grant packages and whatnot that are coming from the state, for the most part, if we're setting this up for county employees, the vast majority of employees are not gonna qualify for state subsidies.
Exactly.
So then you get around having to fulfill all those state obligations that you're doing daycare for 20 years and all those other things.
Right.
So
So another assumption, one of the reasons why I felt comfortable removing, it's not that I was saying, okay, the county is gonna pay for a deal with the facility, is because I had several conversations with Commerce, with the team of people, there's 6 and are working in all these grants through the state of Washington. And I am actually helping them to pencil up numbers for several statewide problems like this. So when I was having the meeting with them, I had a conversation just about, the Department of Commerce is very concerned that I'm not able to make the numbers pencil for this specific county. They were seriously concerned. And just FYI, there's gonna be a follow-up conversation between the state director for SBDC and the Department of Commerce on the 19th regarding of how can the state really start working on this, because none of the ELF grants and are millions of dollars and are actually working out. So, and there's like, you know, they've been giving $1 million here, $1 million there, and it's coming down to me like, look at this budget. It's like, no, this is not gonna work out. So when we were talking about this specific project and I had a discussion with the Department of Commerce, they did say that the $1 million grant for a facility is available for the county. You just have to apply. So, and it's up to $1 million. The Department of Commerce, my understanding for that conversation is, as long as more children are being served, it doesn't matter if it's for county employees or not. It's just what matters is that there are more children. The intention of that money is that more children are being served. I do not know the specifics or constraints with appropriation, but with the Department of Commerce, we could apply for the $1 million facility, which says there has to be for 10 years of operation and somebody has to be in charge. With that on mind, I feel comfortable removing the lease and the loan payment because I figure that if we get the $1 million grant for the facility, then that money doesn't have to come from the county anymore, which for at least for that period of time, it doesn't have to be depreciated because it will cover that cost. It will not cover the maintenance of the utilities, but it's insignificant. I mean, in consideration of what will cost to bring that facility up to date or remodel that facility or build another facility. And $1 million, it is a sizable number. So I actually play with that on my head, like, okay, let's gonna see what happens if we don't have these costs. Can we make it work? And it still doesn't work, but the deficit is not as big, and then we still have those funds and we could apply for.
Do you know the numbers on what, based on your numbers here, what we would need to charge the employees for toddlers, what we would need to charge for this, what we need to
Twice
charge?
as much. I mean, there's no way we can make this work unless we go to the normal rates and everybody's charging, or we cut the hours like everybody else, which is the same thing. So if we could, we're talking about going from.
So I did, because I was kind of curious, the same
Right,
thing.
right.
If 57 at 100% capacity, and I took your monthly income and divided it, it was about $684 per child across the board.
Right.
For my question is, 57 the Public Works building, can we put 57, how much of the footprint of that building would that, and meet the requirements?
Yeah. So for 57 kids, we need, that building is 4,500 square feet rough. So so the scenarios that I ran with the different ages, because it's different capacity. So for 57 kids, we need 2,500 square feet.
Okay.
So we cannot use the facility. We cannot have double use in the facility, but we could have a space inside for an indoor playground, which will.
So we couldn't use half the building for that and half for something else?
No.
It has to be single use.
Yes.
Why is that?
Because everybody who has any contact, close access with the kids, they have to be in the registry, they have to be fingerprinted, they have to
So, but
be.
you couldn't physically have a
Divide the
different
building in
entrance,
half and
divide the building,
childcare's on this
giant
side and-
wall.
We'll have to have.
If it works for the border, it won't work for a daycare.
Kind of. We will have to have, we will have to have tons of permissions and,
Okay.
if anybody by accident parks the car and gets close to kids and God forbid has a record of anything, they will shut down the
Okay.
operation. So it's easier not to. I mean, we can write, if we get in that point, I can help writing all the the request for the exemptions. But because it's a public building and it's public work, and we cannot control employees, I will suggest, my recommendation will be not to.
Okay.
And that's the reason. But on the good side is we can be using some of that space and will not require a lot of infrastructure expenses for an indoor playground, which will reduce the outdoor playground capacity and can be used as a space when there's a lot of snow for the kids to have like an indoor activities in the building.
Have you looked at our last childcare survey that we sent out to employees? I think I gave you guys the numbers in the past on how many of what age group wanted childcare or needed childcare. Because to me, that's kind of the next step, is figure out what the dollar amount to do this is per child per month, and then send another survey out saying, okay, if we were offering it and it was this much per month,
Would you do it?
Yep.
because if 99% of them say, no, it needs to be $200 a month or I'm not doing it, then that answers our question. If people are like, yeah, no, if I need to pay $70 a day for childcare, that's fine because I make $120 a day. they still make $50. I mean, I remember me and my wife got together, she already had our first son, essentially, her son, whatever, anyway. We were discussing whether she was gonna go get a job, and I was looking at what she made and what she was gonna have to pay in parking and whatnot, and what we were gonna pay in childcare, and her take-home income after childcare was gonna be $12 a day. Still better than nothing. And so that's my point.
Dollars was more money then, so.
Well, and it's ground floor entry, you move
Right,
up over
right, right.
time. So that's my point. I think we need to look at what the number is gonna cost, send out another survey to these 47 people or whatever we had that said they were interested, and say, are you interested at this number? Or maybe the second question is, what would the number have to be to have you interested? And then we could have a full data discussion on whether it's even plausible or not.
Another thought, a long, long time ago, I was involved in conversations with big employers, and this conversation is going to happen in a few weeks with the Department of Commerce. And what it was about is, if we have families, two-income families, and they work in different places, and they both have health benefits and blah, blah, blah benefits, what we were trying to figure out is, if one parent will have the health will carry through their work, their health benefits, whatever, and the other parents will waive those benefits. For example, somebody works at the hospital and the other one works for the county, and the county employee waives those benefits, then that cost could have been allocated to support childcare as a benefit versus having two employers. I mean, that's a big conversation and involves a lot of stuff, but if that reduces the cost, because there's no need to have two life insurance, medical insurances, and that reduces a chunk. What the chunk is depends of a lot of stuff, right? I'm not in HR, but whatever reduces that, then that money can be allocated towards a childcare benefit, which is not an increase of cost to the employer, but is an increase of benefits for the employee. So, I mean, that conversation, again, I had it with hospital, big companies in the gorge, and went nowhere because nobody wanted to put the time to start really looking internally to do that. But that's an option as of reducing the impact of the subsidies for county employees. And since it's just one company, maybe it's easier. And answering your question, I have read so many surveys, and honestly, I remember numbers, but I don't remember a specific of who's what, because I have read so much of all these research that has been done that I don't remember.
I have the little cheat sheet in my office, and I think I gave it to them last week, and I didn't bring myself one, so.
If I can get a copy of that, that would be great. So I can have one page instead of looking through all the books. And so that's basically where we are. I mean, if we reduce making it work is reducing the hours because reduces the payroll. Looking at all these people, looking at all the people who are working, which actually are open, and looking at the hours, that makes sense, but they're not offering full day, and the kids are, who knows what they're doing before work and after work.
Well, it makes sense why they're not offering full day, because if you're offering full day, you need
Can't.
two teachers to cover this part of it,
Right.
and the second one to
Right.
cover that part of it,
Right.
which drives up your expenses even higher.
Right.
So,
The other thing I find, and I want to correct because I misspoke, is I said that all the franchises were closed, and it was not correct. They closed many centers, but KinderCare is still operating very few centers in Washington. And another possibility will be to approach some of these companies to see if they want to operate it. But when I look at the rates, if we get any of them to kind of operate it, we're going to go back to what is happening in Hood River, half days, and the rates are outrageous. There's not going to be other way to operate it.
I mean, you say the rates are outrageous, but that's the cost of providing the service.
It is.
I mean,
But we don't have jobs that are supporting, there are very limited jobs that can support a single mom with 2 kids to have them in daycare so she can work. And that's the reality of our counties. I mean, we have a lot of single parents with no one kid, and then, you know, who's gonna afford like $4,000 a month in childcare? I can't.
Discussion?
No, I would like to know.
That's what I'm trying to get an idea too, is this scalable? So your model was built on 57,
Yeah,
and you would want to have, because I need to know, what do we, like say, in a perfect world, we're gonna offer this, you know, it's gonna be a benefit that,
Right.
and we use it as a tool to recruit, and we get folks, and we end up with, you know, we have 40 people or 40 children that are in, and so there obviously is some, you want to have capacity, like, so we don't build the 40. We have to have some capacity, because that number is going to go up and down depending on, and it could, so you'd have to have some, you're never going to be at 100% capacity, because you're not going to know what that is. Because if you're running at 100%, where, you know, we have it for 57, we have 57 slots and they're all full, it's really hard to offer a benefit that you can't actually deliver to everybody that asks for it.
right.
Because if I don't have health insurance where I like, well, we have 250 spots, and when those are gone, sorry, you can't do that. So we'd have to do, so from an economic model, you're always, like, maybe a good sweet, maybe it's 75%.
Yeah.
Is really more of a number to work with.
Right.
And so then, you know, when I'm doing that, and it's like, well, $11,000 a month is what it would take us as a subsidy. And that's based on folks paying, you know, they're gonna pay, if the numbers are still the same, you know, about $684 per child is their piece. The 11,000 roughly a month, we're going to have to cover as a benefit, meaning that's the subsidy. And is that something we can, is that palatable or not? I don't know. But that's really the only model, that's the only way this will work.
And that's only going to continue to skew as time goes on, even further down that line.
Right.
So the,
Well, you would have to raise your rates, you know,
Your rates are gonna have to go up with inflation. The
with
kicker is,
inflation, right?
you have to know whether your employees are willing to pay for the childcare at the cost that it costs to provide the childcare, for the most part, with that small amount of subsidy that's there. And if they're only willing to pay 50% of that, now you know you have this giant subsidy, and is that palatable or not?
Exactly.
palatable? You might find that you have, you know, of the 45 that want childcare, only 25 of them are willing to pay for it.
Right.
The rest of them are just people that want it for free. You know, well, good luck finding that wherever you find that.
Although I could see a day coming, as far as employment, as far as to be able to attract people, you may have to actually offer it to
that's
get
why,
actual bodies into some of these jobs.
if we go this
And
route,
everybody else is gonna have to do the same
Yep.
thing.
If we go this route, I don't ever want to be at 100% capacity, because I always want places available for the next hire that's coming, that
Right.
you can say, hey, look, we have childcare.
Yes.
Nobody else does. Because that's the hard part when you're looking at these skilled professions. Let's just call it our IT manager. I certainly hope you hire the next IT manager in the city of Goldendale that already has their childcare set up, because you're not going to get somebody to move here from Hood River, the Dalles, Tri-Cities, anywhere else to move here when they have young children, because they ain't got any childcare. So,
And they
have
can't
fun
find a
finding
house.
one, you know, so it's, if you don't already have that as an recruitment and incentive tool, so.
the scenarios that you have on the Excel documents are for 96, which was the first one, 46, 42, which I send you, and I will resend this document. And this one has 57. So I've been, and with the different mixed ages of kids. So that's what we have so far to kind of work with, but I'm still coming in deficits with each one of them.
All right, there is no way to
Right.
make it work.
Right.
Unless you're
are
gonna
you-
raise
and-
the monthly.
And
to
is your
cover
math
100% of the-
the same as these other ones, where it's, you know, one of them was 900 a month for 2-year-olds and 1,100 months for under 2? What were your rates
I did not.
estimated at?
I did not change that. I only changed the mix of kids. I did not change the income rate, because that has to be, I needed to have some consistency, and that's what the state pays. So I
So the
use,
income rate is based off what the state pays.
that's the state
We would need
reimbursement
to,
rate.
we would need to take that number and divide it by the number of children to figure out what we're charging each child as a real rate without a state subsidy.
Well, it kind of is yes and no. And the reason why I said yes and no is because if you have, I mean, the infants, the state pays $60 per kid, but you can only have 4 kids per adult.
Right.
Right? So if we do the math that way, it can work as a business, divided the income based on the numbers of kids. But it's not, if there was an infant room or a toddler room, it's gonna lose a ridiculous amount of money just because it's divided. So the rates that are consistent since the beginning, and I'm using the state reimbursed rates for this county, which is 60 for infants, 50 for toddlers, 50 for preschoolers and pre-K, and 20 for after school.
Okay, wait, give me those again.
It is a $60
infants.
per day for the infant, $50 a day for toddler, preschool, and pre-K, which it is 1 to 5 ages. And 5 to 12 is $20 for half a day. And $40 for full day. And ages are 5 to 12. And that's what the state pays for reimbursement in this county.
Okay, and that's what you did the math on.
That's what I use as my consistent through all the scenarios I'm giving you. That's my consistent income.
And how many, which I assume probably not tons, but how many of our employees would qualify for state subsidy?
So basically what they're.
What's the rate?
It is the same as the school, school manages their school lunches.
Okay.
So it's exactly the same chart. So I don't have
Okay,
the
no,
number.
that's okay. I
It's
don't
about 20
expect you to.
It's about 20,000, I think max is $25,000 of home income. Then they get free lunches and subsidized lunches. So it is exactly the same rate.
Okay, I can look that.
And again, changes for county by county.
What you're gonna find is if it's a 2-parent
Our
household
minimum's
and they both
3,000.
work, you're not covered. If it's a 1-parent household, they might.
They
at
may
least
get some.
So.
Which I'm actually okay with that, because that would be the
It's based on the
scenario of
household
the
income.
single
Right, I just don't know how much
parent,
of
2
that we
kids.
have in the county per se,
Right.
so.
Right.
So I think there's another little survey that needs to kind of go out to get a little more.
And can we go back to the capital costs as far as the $1 million that your thought is that the county could qualify for that, even if we were building daycare, it was only for our employees?
The Department of Commerce doesn't care who's being served, and I mean,
As long as it's serving more.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say it that way.
Yeah.
What they want is to increase the childcare capacity through the state of Washington. How are being served, and the money is going to private, is going to non-for-profits. I mean, I think after my conversation with them, they were more interested in making this work than not having childcare in Goldendale.
Okay.
Is there any way, I mean, other counties have higher reimbursement rates, right?
Yeah,
Um,
King
is-
County is like much higher than us.
Right, but would the thing that would make the most amount of sense is to get, I mean, if we're talking with Commerce and these groups, and we can show with your numbers, there's no way to make it pencil unless these rates were increased to something that this is what it would take in order to make it pencil for somebody to come in and do it themselves even. And that's
That's
Yeah,
the
that's
whole
at the
problem
state
with the
rates.
legislative level, yeah.
that's at the state rates for the people who could, make it pencil for the private side, like the single mother that's working that makes
Right.
30,000. That's still not gonna fix our problem within the county, but whatever that number may be, say it's $60 a day or $80 a day for just regular kids, 72 or whatever it was, 72 for a full day, which is still a half of a day. When you look at those numbers, it's $72. Sure, we could make it make sense, but is there any way to get the state to provide a portion of that for the people like a graduated? It's either not like, you either qualify or you
You
don't.
don't,
It's,
right.
we know you
No,
need
there's a
some help.
graduated level.
Huh?
There's a graduated scale on it.
Oh, okay.
I just don't know what the actual numbers are. They might be part of that childcare survey that was done by Wellgap. I'll have to look. But again, I guess it's kind of a moot issue if we reach out to our 42 people with children and say, are you capable of paying 60 for an infant or willing to pay? Which again, if we don't do infants, because that's 4 kids per teacher and that's gonna cost more money. So $50 per toddler pre-K, and then the after-school rates. If we do this, how many of you are buying into it?
Rob's gonna start a Montessori school here, so.
We can't reach out to those employees, that was a blind survey.
I know, we'd have to send another one and.
A general
I get
across
it,
the board.
I get it. But that would at least provide them more information, and you might have 15 of them now that say, yeah, no, I'm in on that.
Right.
Because I think a lot of them might be having Meemaw babysit at night or during the day, and you know, they're paying for pizza money, and when they realize they got 2 kids and it's now gonna be $120 a day, not interested in childcare, they'll still have grandma babysit.
Right.
But
I would say I would want to know that, and that doesn't mean I'm not interested. Maybe you build a program that's not, you know, it's what
As I
is
said, I
the
want
need.
real
Maybe it's
data
only
and then have a
25, and that's.
So I never thought about running it this way. I don't know why, but what I just did is I divided the $40,000 a month on expenses divided by the 52 kids. And we have in these last 57 kids, and we have in the last scenario. So the cost per kid per day, the cost without the facility rent, without utilities is $39.99 per kid.
$40.
Right. So that's our cost.
Right, that's our total.
And right. So and we're charged. So what is
Directly into
happening is
40,000
we're
a year.
subsidizing. When a kid and that's average, right? So I'm not doing it per classroom.
Right.
So if that's the average and we're charging, there's like $20 for the majority of the kids and 60 for 4 kids, that's where we are. I mean, we have to be above the $40 cost
Yeah.
without facility utilities.
Right.
Which is already a subsidy.
Exactly, and it's another $100,000 a year on subsidy, just just in utilities will be $3,000 a month, you know, power, blah, 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 3,000 times
So,
12.
I work it out as, it's about $50 a day per kid for the
Right.
cost.
Right, so if we start there, and any normal business will go up 30% on service, so we're $65 a kid minimum. So if the survey goes out, if a parent is not able to afford a minimum of $70 a day per kid, it's not gonna work out. And that's $1,400 a month for 20 days of service.
Okay.
All right. Where would you like to go from here?
You're welcome.
Looking to do that, send that out with those numbers, like a blind survey, like,
Yeah, I figure, give me some time, I'll kind of talk to Rob and we'll figure something out and then come back before the board with whatever we're thinking we're gonna do.
Let's send
for your
out there.
Permission and approval, and then we'll
Right.
send it.
I like that plan. Thank you so much for all your work,
You are
man.
most welcome. And regarding my conversation with Commerce, any of you, would you like to be involved in it? Did you want me to report? What would you want me to do with that? Because I'm speaking on
As
behalf
long
of
as you
you.
know the information, the hard part for me when I was looking through the grants or being forwarded the grants from the childcare committee was the stipulations that you have to run a childcare for 20 years to receive the grant, which maybe it's 10 now. That you have to take a certain percentage of low-income people, which one of the grants, it was like 90%
Right.
of and that doesn't help me fix my problem. My problem's in this building.
Right.
And if I have to dedicate everything to a grant that's taking care of people that don't have jobs, I'm not interested. I want to help the people that do have jobs. So you can look over the information from Commerce, and if it sounds like it fits our narrative, then you'll know that, and when we have future discussions,
Okay,
you can throw that out.
we'll do that. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Let me know if I can do anything else.
Thank you, man, for all your hard work.
Of course, you're welcome. Oh, by the way, last thing, if I have 2 more minutes, just very quick update. So I have 10 new startups or starting business I cannot find loans for. So I just want to pass that information to you. I mean, I'm working with every single bank, you name it.
Nothing in McKed?
I have nobody's lending for startups.
I want to, in this
Nobody.
economy.
Yeah, have you checked with McKed? Because one of the requirements of McKed is that you have to be turned down.
Right, but then you also
Conventional
have to have
financing.
assets, and then you have to have an X percentage of assets, and they actually can put a lien on or.
Well, depending on what they want to do, because we just started, it's a micro loan program. And
Okay.
I don't know if any of these
Okay.
10 qualify, and I think I think it's 25,000
Or
is the
less.
cap. And then the capital, and all, it's much, because that's what it's for. It's
Right.
really kind of for startups.
Okay, I can look, I'm gonna give another round to my cat, but with these people, I mean, I send them over there and they come
And they
back like.
said, no.
But you know,
No.
so anyway, I just wanna pass that to you because I'm stuck with those ones. And so that's what I am.
Yeah, in the market right now, I don't think anybody's doing a whole lot of investing in startups.
No,
I wouldn't be.
no. So anyway,
Okay.
thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Yeah, after Rob. Yeah, next up, we have Mr. Van Cleve.
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Good afternoon.
So before you, you have well, we've added an extra step this time. I'd received, it was my understanding that you were open to consider a professional services agreement to review the structure and duties of the solid waste department. And so I'm not here today to ask you for formal approval of this. I've worked with Wendy, the consultant, and she has proposed a scope of work, and of which I've sent you some additional questions. And so my hope today is to get direction from you whether you're willing to consider this or revise it and then bring it back through the formal process, including contract review by the PA's office. So basically, she has set a estimate not to exceed $11,200. Her hourly rate, I think, is $199 an hour. So she is very knowledgeable about solid waste. She's been a solid waste director. She has actually done work for companies like Republic, and she was the consultant used to draft our solid waste management plan, master plan. So she's very knowledgeable about Klickitat County as well, and those things that make us unique, like our relationship with Republic. So we think Commissioner Christopher and I did meet with her or talked to her at one time, so we think she probably has the most knowledge to be able to address some of the issues or answer some of the questions we have posed.
The issue I have is she's working for us on a time basis, time and materials. And then she puts, if the county feedback and documents are not received within the time frame identified, this could cause delays to the overall project and increased funding may be required. Well, if it's time and materials, it doesn't matter if you do it today or 2 weeks from now, like explain how.
I did talk about, I think that's probably, she works for a very large firm, and I think it's her boilerplate. I told her initially that I wouldn't be held to her timeframes just because, but I also know that we won't delay it. So I'm already potentially gathering or already have the documents I anticipate she'll need, and we will get them to her on a timely basis. So there will be no delay caused by us, but I did tell her that I'm not subject to her timeline, and but on the other hand, we won't be the cause for the delay. So I don't anticipate that being an issue. She's talking about having access to the job descriptions, the agreement with Republic, and some other documents, of which many she probably already has. So, but we'll make sure she get them right away.
I think it's pretty standard, like they do worry sometimes, because I know the consulting to put the financial system, put together the RFP for a new financial system. They have something in there too about that. It's like, because they need information, some feedback, and they kind of say the same thing. It's like, if we're not getting anybody's feedback, it might end up costing you money because we have to keep asking, and that costs money. But yeah, I did see that too, because I thought, well, if I give you a bid to build your deck, and I work 20 hours this week and 20 hours next week, or if I work 40 hours this week, it's the same.
Yeah, but
It's the same
If
price.
the landowner.
But if I
wants
come
you
in
on
and
the
show up
property,
and you got a
it's
bunch
on
of
that
crap
field
in the way,
oversight.
or right now yeah, that's true.
I think it's just designed to give us motivation to give them what they
To
need when they need
cooperate
it.
and
Yeah.
get the information that
Which
they
we're
need.
motivated to do anyway. But,
I have no issues that
About double what I was hoping to pay, but
yeah, I would agree with that too.
Yeah.
There would be a financial issue. I'll have to work with the auditors to move funds around. I'm not sure I have money in the right places to pay for this, but I know it's in there. We just may have to move it. So I'll make sure I talk to the auditor before we would come back with the formal proposal and how to do that and when to do that. So, and then the questions I submitted to her was my attempt to capture the conversations and trying to kind of boil it down. So because I kind of pushed back on her, said her scope of work was too broad and generic for me. And she added,
Yeah, we're not starting from.
so she added a
nothing.
bullet point in there
we're hiring you
saying,
because you wrote the plan in the first place. You should already have half of these answers or thought about it.
so
last
she did
time
add a
you
bullet
saw
point
it.
in there saying that it was based on the questions that I had submitted or the information I had submitted to her, which I sent to you, which more or less framed. And we can revise that, of course. If it's too broad or too narrow, then, you let me know and we can, and then Director Quinn has agreed to, there'll be an initial setup meeting, should you ultimately approve the proposal with her, and Director Quinn will join me in that call because there is overlap between public health and the compliance function to some degree. And our hope is also to document that.
Director Quinn ever say no to anything?
Yeah, but
But he
phone
doesn't hear
usually
it.
cuts out when she says no. I said, what was that? Yes? I heard yes.
Oh, voluntold?
No. She's, because there is a relationship between the compliance officer
Yes.
and ecology and public health. And Aaron and I are interested in documenting that better than it currently is, so we all understand that. And so she's willing to participate in that aspect
As
of
long
it.
as it doesn't get in the way of her mental health project.
That's what I mean. She's like, she's got
Yeah.
a really big plate.
As long as we keep that narrowed down, so that she's not correct, writing her white paper, she's answering questions.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, we'll bring it back to you. Thank you. Do I have an opportunity to discuss IT with you, or is there some on the agenda? I can come back at the end of the day. It's not on the agenda, but I would like to.
Why don't we do Courtney real quick, and then you're right up after that.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for letting me slip in real quick. In looking at the county policy about the county vehicles, I had a quick question. I'd like to give our litter crew supervisor the opportunity to take the litter crew truck home on the nights before her crew, only on those days that we do not have anybody in the Goldendale East End scheduled for crew. Right now, we're getting a lot of West End clients for litter crew. And so where she's located between Goldendale and Lyle, it's enough of a significance for fuel and time for her to come into Goldendale, get the vehicle, and then commute to the White Salmon area. So just in thinking of her time, the time of the workers, so we could start the times earlier to beat the heat in the summer. And then it would shorten the cost on fuel a little bit as well.
Seems like it
What are your-
makes sense. You get a head start.
And we never get, we always know that night before who's gonna be there tomorrow.
So currently, yes, Wednesdays right now, she's in the office on, not Wednesdays, sorry, Tuesdays right now. She's in the office for 5 hours doing paperwork, calling to make sure schedules are booked, which is all time dedicated to the litter crew. And then now that we have that portion of the grant to monitor, she's having to manage that grant as well. So yes, she knows what days and who's going to be showing up for the crew. And of course, if they don't show up, then they get dinged for that. So right now, most of our people are on the crew in
There
White
has
Salmon.
been times where there's, one in Goldendale and one in White Salmon. So you gotta pick this one up and drive down there.
But you know that the day before.
Right, but I think going forward, they can schedule accordingly and schedule the Goldendale juveniles on the first and third Wednesday and the White Salmon ones on the second and fourth Wednesday.
Right.
So all the Goldendale ones are on this day and all the White Salmon ones are on that day. And then you don't have to do all the running to, from, back, forth. Now, I don't know about legality of employee using a company car to drive to and from work. There may be an issue with that. I don't know.
Director Van Cleve.
The issue you might want to explore is whether it's a taxable benefit. The IRS is very clear on when an employee can take a rig home,
Right.
what types of jobs it may qualify, clearly marked. Law enforcement is an example of.
Right.
Otherwise, it's a commuting tax, so the employee potentially, but that would be an auditor question.
Right, and that's where I was going with my question, is checking with the auditor to make sure this is even a legal ask.
Okay.
I think, you're doing a great job. You're trying to be efficient. If we can legally do it, I absolutely have no problem with it. It's only benefiting the county.
Okay, thank you. I will check with the auditor and go that route then.
Yeah, I would check that. And I suspect the issue won't be, can we do it? Because I think we can do it. It's just, is it a taxable fringe benefit or not?
Okay, wonderful.
I just know when we get reimbursed for ours, how it's split out depending on the rule.
Who you
Isn't
go
that
with.
we can't do it. It's like we pay tax on some of it.
But usually, isn't that about using your own vehicle?
Personal vehicles.
That's
I
what
don't
you're- so
know, but there
again,
is a rule. I mean, because we do have, again, there has to be a clear benefit to the county as to why because we can't. But the employee may, again, yeah, the auditor will be the one that knows as far as like the employee just needs to understand that there may be they may get dinged for the tax on the value of that if it is. I don't see an issue. To me, you're getting a jump. Like if you're still going to, like if the rig's in Goldendale and I know I'm meeting the crew in White Salmon tomorrow, the rig's gonna go from White Salmon or from Goldendale to White Salmon. I'm just taking it 12 hours earlier than
Right.
on my way. What's the
Right, but it's
difference?
saving you 24 miles.
But it's
on
not,
the odometer and 24 miles of fuel.
For your-
I know, but you're
Plus
not, but
also
it's not saving, but you're,
But you're also saving 1 hour of employee time that can be actually dealt doing something versus driving
I
here and
know.
then driving there.
Especially since we just let the person go to 410. Right, didn't we? Didn't we? No, we haven't done that.
He's still 35 hours a
Oh,
week.
35 hours, yes.
I don't know. It seems like a no-brainer to me.
It's always been
like
that, they just never had approval.
That's what, oh, yeah.
Yeah, and just reading the handbook, I thought it was something to bring to you and get your opinion on it.
Keep
because I don't-
up the good work with all of your creative solutions and trying to be efficient.
Okay,
would
I will
say
do my
yes.
best.
I would double agree with that, but then, yeah, check it with the auditor. Make sure it's cool with them, make sure the consequences, if there are consequences, that the employee knows the consequences
Sure.
and then.
How are our numbers doing for the litter crew? Are they going up quickly?
They have been up lately. I haven't ran the numbers or talked about the numbers with the staff lately. I just know that as of last week, they said that they were up. Majority being in White Salmon area right now. And it's hard to tell when, we get individuals that live on the east side that get in trouble on the west side, and, or,
Well, that's why I think that's the problem with when you, where I like the idea, because previous Commissioner Sizemore used to get reports on how much trash was picked up in each commissioner district.
okay,
Wanted to make sure everything got covered. And if you got somebody from Goldendale and somebody from White Salmon, it's not like you're gonna pick your Goldendale person up, drive over to White Salmon, pick them up, and then come back to Goldendale to clean up on this side. And you know, you're gonna stay over there. So you got a Goldendale kid picking up White Salmon.
right,
Where ideally, like, I like the idea of having the Goldendale people on one weekend of the month, or 1 week, first and third, second, fourth, whatever, so that you can try to, if you can,
right,
lock them together so the Goldendale people are picking up at their own house, and they're also being seen on the side of the street by their own friends. And I think that is a motivating tool
mhm,
versus if I had to do litter crew in Bend, Oregon, I personally wouldn't care. If I had to do
Yeah.
it here, I might care.
you're never gonna see them again,
So
right?
I think there's some, yeah.
I think it's more picking people up in Goldendale, taking them all the way to White Salmon to start. You've wasted 2 hours of your cleanup time. That's why I look at it as efficiency.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Director Van Cleve.
Can't get enough of this.
Funny to see you here today.
So thank you for your time. I don't want to infringe on the PA's time or the treasurer's time. Do I have a few minutes? I just want to make sure I'm not bumping somebody. So I didn't bring the,
I don't, have you heard from Treasurer? We didn't have a finance committee meeting, so I doubt we're gonna.
Probably is not
Yeah,
a.
so you're using him.
thanks. So I just wanted to have a general conversation, no decision, of course, or otherwise I would have put it on the agenda. So in order to staff the IT department, we are working, we met today, and we continue to meet how we're gonna, with 50% capacity, what we're able to do and how we can do it. Mr. Rowe is willing to help. We just haven't finalized the details of what that looks like yet, but he is willing to help. But understanding he's starting a new job and we won't be his primary focus. We do have some 24/7 coverage, in the network that is critical, and we have to figure out, I have hourly employees trying to figure out how to cover 24/7. So I've committed to them, we'll look into that as well. There's a number of legs to this stool, one being trying to fill the two positions. They're both posted. No one's applied for the IT manager. There has been a little interest, but no one's applied. So of course we continue there. The other one is the compensation issue, which we've already talked about, and I'm looking into that as well. But you've asked me to oversee the IT department, and hoping and waiting is not a very good management strategy for a department that literally interacts with every elected office and director. We have every single function we have to some degree as a connection to IT. So hoping and waiting is not a good strategy. So I talked to the IT staff this morning, and what we would like to do, and I'd like to get your feedback, that's why I'm asking for time, is there's occasionally talk about, can we outsource the IT department? Can we outsource parts of it? Can we contract all of it out, pieces of it out? In the past, there was a study done. The county did look into that a little bit. What we'd like to do while we still have Jeff available to help us put a scope together is to actually go out and see if the market has, I think it's called MRP, or MSP, management service provider. We don't think anybody in the states outsourced their entire IT function. We don't know of anybody in Oregon or Washington doing that. But we also know we already outsource parts of our IT department, right? We have vendors that do certain things. We don't think it's feasible to outsource the whole department, but we don't know. And so I give a lot of credit to Shelby and Curtis that they're willing to be part of that process, put an RFP together or an RFQ, whatever is appropriate, and see if the market can or will do that on an organization-wide basis and or pieces of we've already identified 3 or 4 pieces of the system, like the phone system. We may come back to you and ask to outsource the maintenance of the phone system now because I don't have the staff to do it. So there may be bits and pieces, it may be the whole thing. We don't want to prejudge the outcome. So the IT department would like to put the work in. It's about a 3 or 4 month process to put the scope of work together, put this information out there, see what's available, and then go from there to see, just because others aren't doing it doesn't mean we can't do it. And what does that look like? And frankly, I've been involved in some of this on smaller scales in the past, and you really still need to have some level of boots on the ground. It can't be all remote access. So I give a lot of credit to Curtis and Shelby that they don't take this as a threat to their positions, that they're willing to participate in it and actually interested, because I think we will get good data from this. It'll take a lot of work on the front end, and they're
And then
willing to do it.
you'll be able to know what we have that's legacy that we probably need to move in a different direction over
Exactly.
to the cloud anyways. Yeah, I'm completely in favor.
That I think is the biggest pro in doing it, is getting a new and fresh set of eyes that maybe doesn't have the history in the county of always using the same device to tell us what we're doing or what we need to do or what we may not need to do anymore.
Well, and again, remember, it wouldn't be focused on necessarily how we do things. We would present a picture of our current systems and as it exists, and then see if any firms are out there that could contract to run the system, or maybe they would change pieces or parts of it, or is there parts of the system that can be outsourced? But in the process, you do take a hard look at how it's set up.
Right.
But I think even
Because I would expect anybody really worth their salt as far as, like, if I was I'm looking, because I suspect an outside IT, they're gonna come in and look at all of our legacy things, and they're gonna say, yeah, we can provide the services, here's what it's gonna do, here's what it's gonna cost, or this kind of
maybe
à la
here's what it's
carte.
gonna Save as well.
Or it could be, here's what it's gonna say, well, I mean, as far as what their cost is, as far as this, but they also could, and when we go, they could say, well, one thing you could do
Right.
is this, because part of the
Quit
cost
running on
is
CompuServe
this
and
thing
AOL.
and this thing and this thing could be put in.
Exactly.
Right.
No, I think you're absolutely right.
Get rid of the AOL accounts.
Do we need to have the servers? Is it cheaper to host the servers
It-
with them?
It
Well,
could
that's what I'm
be.
saying.
So
There
I
could
think
be
somebody
some-
looking at, I'm a yes.
Thank you. And I think Shelby and Curtis, we just had this discussion, they may be listening. I invited them to attend if they wanted to. Is that even if we are able to fill the positions we have, a new person coming in, this will be valuable information for a new person, because IT, there is not an industry standard on how to set up an IT system. So every IT department has their own little twist. There's a lot of commonalities, but whether you have 10 servers partitioned or 20, or how you do things, how you set up a WAN and a LAN and a network, there's a certain amount of discretion. And so even a new person, I think, would benefit from having this information. Plus, at 4 full-time staff, we were slowly starting to sink.
Yeah.
And so I think even if we can staff back up to 4, knowing things that we may be able to consider to contract out of the system that would take some of the things off their plate is valuable information. So if you're willing to let us put that work into it, and again, a lot of credit to Shelby and Curtis for not taking the approach.
Is he still arguing for something?
No.
I know,
Already
it's
said
like he's
yes?
trying
No.
to.
He just refuses to take yes.
I
for an
refuse
answer.
to take yes.
Trying to
I
seize
just want-
defeat from the jaws of victory.
I want to acknowledge that I have not worked with a lot of people in the past who would do what Shelby and Curtis are doing, which is taking this step forward and being part of the look. And
I can't imagine us considering outsourcing everything without at least having a couple of local on the ground boots that can answer the questions that we need them answered. I don't see it necessary as a threat to their position.
Good, thank you, and nor do they. And then I will let you know that probably in the next week or two, I'll be contacting all the elected officials and the department directors, kind of outlining what this is going to look like the next 6 months or until we can fill these positions. We're going to be in maintenance mode.
Maintenance
and
mode.
Crisis mode, unfortunately, in priority mode, but we'll do the best we can.
It's every department now.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, do we want to hit the bills and the consent real fast? So our good prosecutor can get back to work. Doing his
Mr.
three-
Chairman, I move that we approve the consent agenda with 10 items.
I'll second the motion.
Motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion to approve accounts payable warrants in the amount of $228,707.94 and payroll benefit warrants in the amount of $817,309.17 for the date ending July 11th, 2022.
I would second the motion.
There's a motion and a second to pay the bills. Let's make sure that the transcript is inaccurate on that number. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Anything else on new business? Nope, not hearing any. Prosecutor Cannell, do you have anything for open session? Good afternoon.
Remind the board that part of my work is interacting and providing advice to this board, and past boards have actively solicited that. So if I'm unwelcome, I apologize. I just want to go over some of the summaries from Superior Court for the last month. In Superior Court, we had several adjudications. Christopher Cruz plead guilty to theft in the second degree. He was sentenced 30 days in jail. James Cheney plead guilty to residential burglary, an offense dating back shortly before the lockdowns at the end of 2019, and was sentenced to 3 months in jail and legal financial obligations. Juan Navarro was convicted after a jury trial of unlawful possession of a firearm, date of offense of October 30th, 2021, was sentenced to 41 months in prison and legal financial obligations. I believe he has other charges pending in Yakima County. State of Washington versus David Keys, plead guilty to burglary in the first degree and assault in the third degree, was sentenced to 27 months in prison, legal financial obligations, and 18 months DLC supervision. State of Washington versus Shelley the groom, aka Brock, plead guilty to burglary in the first degree with a firearm enhancement, as well as theft of firearms and theft in the first degree. She was sentenced to 90 months in prison. She coordinated with a paramour of hers to burglarize a neighbor while the neighbor was out doing volunteer activity with the fire department. Actually called the individual to confirm he wasn't home, went into the house, emptied it out of pretty much his lifelong savings and possessions. This is a man of moderate means. I was retired in the Dallasport area. Her colleague fled to Oregon. He subsequently information upon information belief used some of the ill-gotten gains that they were tracked down to several pawn shops in Portland, obtained substances, and he OD'd, so he's dead. Fortunately for her, she was captured before she had the opportunity to enjoy the ill-gotten gains through a needle in her arm, and she will be spending the next 90 months in prison. Thinking about her decisions. Very unfortunate. Grandmother was the custodial guardian of a child, did not care one whit about the consequences to the community, her family, and her neighbors as to her actions pursuing her controlled substance fixations. The state of Washington versus Scott Woolley, defendant plead guilty to violation protection order felony, which is sentenced to 6 months in jail. Felony violation protection order can be a felony in 2 ways. If the assault is committed in violation, if an assault is committed against a protected party, or they've had 2 prior convictions. So district court is the lower level courts of limited jurisdiction. We have one in Golden and White Salmon, one in White Salmon. They are being staffed. I'm principally handling the one in West. My chief is handling in East. We've had one application for employment in the last 4 months, which the invitation to an interview was extended, and he didn't show up for the interview and called half an hour later apologizing, and wished him the best of luck in his further pursuits. And so we're still triaging. My civil deputy, as you know, is going to be on leave here shortly. We'll be gone for a few months. So we're just moving forward. We've had some significant staffing issues. Wave of COVID went through the office, affecting just about everybody. And at one point, we had to shut down to the public for several days in a row because we just simply didn't have staff to man the doors or the phones. So doing our best to keep plugging along.
Did that push trials? Did that push anything back in district and superior court by being out?
There was one trial that was scheduled in district court that got continued, but it wasn't over any objection of the defendant on that. We'd most likely be forced to proceed nonetheless.
How do you do that if everybody has COVID?
What's that?
How would you do that if everyone has COVID?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. That would be, let's not find out.
Yeah.
We'd have to find that out, yeah, but
Yeah.
probably, worst case scenario, hopefully somebody would still be standing. And hopefully someone in another county could chip in, but, and depending on the severity of the cases, I mean, if we're talking about some misdemeanor, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, I didn't know if like the judge is like, well, you didn't show up, sorry.
They win.
They win, yeah.
We've never had that issue, except for the day that in April, which there was snow day declared, for some reason, East District ignored the closure of the county facilities and proceeded to have a docket without notifying us. And so we were quite shocked to find that occurred.
Or he actually ran his whole docket when we didn't have anybody standing there in the room.
Apparently defendants and their attorneys called in. So I guess they were kind enough to notify defense attorneys. So it is what it is, part and parcel of other components nowadays. So we do have a couple of things to discuss regarding pending litigation. So unless there's questions, so any questions or any need for conversation on any open subjects?
No, sir. How long? 15?
Start with 10.
All right, 10 minutes. Okay, everybody who's made it, all 30 of you, we are going to be shutting down the Zoom. We will be entering into executive session pending RCW 4231.10.1-I. And just note that any issues of a general nature would be brought up in public, but when we reconvene, we will only be adjourning. Thank you all and have a great day.